Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for being here. I am going live a little later than normal. I wasn't planning on doing this, but yeah, I wanted to touch base. It was brought to my attention that I guess I made a few people angry about some things that I've been talking about over the last few days regarding the Black Manosphere, and I wanted to come on here and clarify some things and smooth over some things. So yeah, there's just some clarity around my intentions and around ultimately what I'm trying to do. So first off, I want to apologize to anybody who has felt that I've been trying to either control a space or dictate how a space can go. Let me say emphatically that I have never pretended to be any leader in the Black Manosphere. I have never pretended to be a spokesperson for the Black Manosphere. That is not that's not my place at all. I've always tried to say that I'm not the expert, and that I, if anything, am here to learn and understand and try to work together with that space as I can. But I, in no way, shape, or form, am the leader. Like I said, I don't control anything, I don't run anything, and it is never my intention to do so. So I want to apologize if it came off as if I was trying to dictate or if I was trying to spin a particular message, because that was absolutely never my intention. I want to review a couple of things that came up that I think made some people feel upset or made some people feel as if I was trying to spin a particular narrative that is not reflective of the overall space. And I want to bring some clarity there. Again, to reinforce that, like I said, I'm not the expert at all. I have never been the expert in the Black Manosphere. I will never be the expert. And it's never my intention to come off as one. I try to make it a point, I'm a femininity channel, so obviously I talk about things that impact women, but I think an important aspect of that is understanding what's going on with men. And so that is why I have connected with men in the manosphere and even men outside of the manosphere. I've interviewed people who aren't in the manosphere either, but nevertheless, I want this to be a space where a men's point of view can be valued and accepted. So that is my ultimate goal. And again, if it ever comes off as if I'm trying to, like I said, dictate things or that those intentions are not clear, like I said, I want to apologize and want to try to make sure that I am handling these things correctly. So real quick, let me bring up something so we can kind of get some clarity around this. Yeah, you said Obsidian assumed command of the manosphere body. Yes, and so this actually kind of brings me to my point. So what spurred this on? I had a conversation yesterday with different people in the Black Manosphere. Edward Anderson called in. I'm glad he did so, LAR movement. And they both gave me a bit of a lesson just about the history of the Black Manosphere and gave me a little bit more understanding as to what's been going on. And so that was really helpful to me, because what I learned was that I was misinformed on some things. And, that's why I said I never pretend to be the expert. I'm not. And they kind of helped me bring a little bit more clarity about how dynamic this space is. I personally, how do I say this? Like, the person who introduced me to this space was Mr. Obsidian. And, we've had a long-standing relationship. He's very responsive. We've talked multiple times. So I think I made perhaps the wrong assumption in assuming that he was somewhat of the spokesperson for the Black Manosphere. So what happened, I'm going to bring up something to you guys that kind of spurred on this conversation. And I think also made some of you guys feel upset. And like I said, again, I want to reiterate that I am not the boss of anything. I've never wanted to be the boss of anything. I've never wanted to dictate. And I hope nothing else, you guys know that I'm just here to listen. but I clearly understand that the manosphere is for men first, which is why I've never said I'm part of the manosphere. I've never said that. I truly believe the manosphere is for men first, and they're the ones to dictate where that goes, and I respect that. So let me bring this up so you guys can kind of get a sense of what's going on. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, so this post was sent to me again. Shout out to Edward Anderson. I just now saw this today, so excuse me. I probably, if I'd have known this a few days ago, I probably would have responded sooner. But I came across this post today, and it was regarding let's see, it's regarding a video that BG has shared just regarding just this overall state of the Black manosphere and some different concerns that were raised. And so I just want to address it point by point so you guys can understand where I'm coming from. And like I said, I'll reiterate, I'm not the leader here. I don't pretend to have a seat at the table. That's never my intention to try to control. And I hope you guys walk away knowing that. So let me bring this up really quickly and kind of give you guys some context as to what was said. Actually, no, I'll bring this up first, then you guys will see. I'm just going to review it, and then I think you guys will get a sense. Okay, let's see if you can hear it. Oh, sorry.
Again? Yeah.
Very good.
And my more brothers back again. Yeah.
Okay, so this post, real quick. So I shared a post a couple of days ago, and this is what it says: the Black Manosphere identifies with Karen more than Keisha. Why? And then I kind of did a little bit of I did a little copy, and just to kind of give you guys a little context. As I mentioned before, Obsidian was the one that kind of introduced me to the space. I've talked to him, we go back and forth, over email regularly. He's been really helpful as far as just giving me understanding in the space and different things. And so he tends to be my default go-to when it comes to trying to understand what's going on in the Black Manosphere, just because, yeah, he introduced me to it. I know he's one of the founding fathers. I know he does the Black Manosphere meetup. As far as I know, he was featured in like a mainstream media publication. So if I want to understand what's going on in the space, I'll default to what he's saying. And so I made this post and I actually sent it to him. I sent this post to him, and it was in response to a live where he basically was talking about this recent scenario over Miss Pearly things and some of the different ways that some of the other Black female content creators had done. And he made this statement that, for lack of a better term, a white 4 wins over a Black 8, something to that extent. And then he kind of went on to explain basically, it being about who's going to basically be a better asset to the manosphere, who is going to help support the manosphere. And so it was kind of in that spirit that he was talking about things. And so from that live, I wrote this post and I sent it over to Obsidian. And I was like, hey, this is a very interesting idea that you're saying this. Can you kind of help me understand what this is about and what this means for the manosphere moving forward? And so after having that conversation, that is what inspired the interview that I did with Obsidian a couple of days moving forward. And the whole premise of the interview was, okay, help me understand what is going on with the Black manosphere. Help me understand the movement, the politics, things of that nature. And so that was what inspired this post. Again, I was listening to some different work from Mr. Obsidian, and in that, as I was alluded by, I think, the accuser earlier, when he said that Obsidian assumed command of the manosphere a few weeks ago. That was the live that I was listening to, where he was saying, okay, look, leaders lead from the front, essentially, and so we're going to need to clean some house, and here are some new principles. And so I'd have to go back and find the exact one. But if you guys heard that live, you know what I'm talking about. And there he kind of talked about Black content creators, allies. He talked about JPT. And so that is where I, listened to that. And I did the post. I sent it over to him. And we started having a conversation, and then we had the live. And so this, again, that was what inspired this post. Again, what I wasn't trying to say was assume that, all the Black Manosphere does is want to just worship white women, or all I want to do is just chase snow bunnies. That wasn't my intention at all. It was really more trying to understand, based upon those statements that were made, okay, like why was that said? What is that about? And so what I recognize now, after having had the conversation with Edward and LAR movement, was that it was wrong for me to assume that a position that Mr. Obsidian had made would necessarily be reflective of the overall space. That was a wrong assumption on my end. And so again, I want to apologize for mischaracterizing the space due to just really a huge lack of understanding. That was lack of understanding on my part. And as you will see, that's why I've had different lives since then, bringing people on, trying to bring clarity. But I just wanted to give you guys perspective as to what inspired this post. What I wasn't saying was Black men are just, everyone's chasing snow bunnies and they worship white women. That really was not my intention. I hope that's clear. Just wanted to give you guys a little backstory. Again, I sent this directly to Mr. Obsidian, that and another post I did. And he gave me some feedback and he was like, let's go live. Let's talk about it. So that's why we are here now, a few days later. And I see how that could have been very, very offensive. So again, I apologize. Now let me continue because I wanted to break down a few points that were mentioned in here.
And while I like and appreciate Shay Sade, we've supported her from day one. A lot of people that I have helped bring to the Manosphere have been guests, on her shows. A lot of brothers that supported her have been guests, been on her panels, made comments, shared her videos, all kinds of stuff, right? And as far as I know, she's been positive. She's been a positive addition, an adjunct to the Black Manosphere. But this particular post is something that at some point we can't stand. I'll read it to you. From Shay Sade. The last week suggested the Black Manosphere, distinctive from other black male channels, prefers the message of just pearly things over cultural gatekeeping. Race is not a deciding factor for many of those men, but rather alignment of personal goals. What about Miss Pearly things resonates with the Black Manosphere more than the women who support them? And it has a little meme. The Black Manosphere identifies with Karen more than Keisha. Why? First, I'm going to answer the question before I get into my rant. Hopefully, it's not a rant. It's more of a concern. We don't. That's been said 100 different times, 1,000 different ways, in so many different ways that we've explained this over the past year or so. When people try to put her on us.
So again, and Clarinet. So shout out to you guys. Sorry, I've kind of been just focused here. So shout out to you. BGS may or may not be in the house. Welcome to call on if you want. But yeah, so where I went wrong was assuming that a conversation that I'd had with Mr. Obsidian or some points that he made were reflective of the overall space of where the Manosphere is going. Now, I know the Manosphere has never been a monolith, like I know that, but I think I wrongly assumed that there were maybe key voices or people that were helping to kind of move the pulse or drive the direction of the space. And I guess I've since learned it's just a lot more dynamic. And so that where I misspoke or where I misstepped was putting this out there, having this conversation with Mr. Obsidian, and then assuming that based upon that conversation and based upon those things said, that was the trajectory of the space. That is where I misspoke. And again, I apologize for that because that's, I guess that's just not true. Like I said, this place obviously is not a monolith, and there are a divergence of opinions. And I think I even had expressed with Edward Anderson that I think with that false premise, I listened to O'Shea and he kind of alluded to the fact that he was backing away because he thought this is the way that the space was going. So I'm listening to this stuff and I just came to the wrong conclusion. I think I mischaracterized things, and that was not my intention. And again, I'm sorry for doing that. So I misspoke in presenting it that way. And again, I wasn't trying to say that black men just worship white women. That was never my intention. But I absolutely see how this question, I guess, and in context of all the other stuff going around and what other content creators are saying or not saying and all the beasts, I could totally see how this would sound like I'm just using this as a hit piece towards black men worshiping white women, which was absolutely never my intention. Okay, but let me continue.
By various means, they're calling her the woman king of the Black Manosphere by O'Shea Jackson on Mawali, Africa. They tried that the first time, didn't work. And now they're trying it the second time because of Nick Fuentes, who's a known racist, who's a known white supremacist, all that stuff, which he proudly admits. And she had him on. Okay, she's white, she had him on. Jason Black interviewed 2 white supremacists on his channel.
Hey, you. I know it's a weird question, but
you have a right to actually interview who you want to. It's your channel, as long as you don't exhibit the same behavior. Number 1. Number 2, we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, not only by history, but by the words of not only her, but also the people that worked for her. She didn't establish herself in the United States. The Black Manosphere is predominantly ADOs, or what we call Negro black males in the United States, not in the UK. The UK has a different experience of slavery and white supremacy and all that other stuff to go along with it, because they're a mixture of Africans who most of them never really seen a white person, in their country, who were never enslaved, don't have the same experience.
So to that point, I actually completely agree with. I completely agree with that. He's basically saying the Black Manosphere is largely made up of African Americans, whether you identify with ADOS or FBA. I've never challenged that. There was a question that I asked Mr. Obsidian specifically about the ancestry, because an idea that I've seen floating around right now is that people in the Black Manosphere are people who are, whether they're adjacent with just Pearly things or if they're cool with the just Pearly things, whatever, there's just idea that it's just being overran by immigrants, or that it's being overran by people who were not born in America. And so I specifically asked Mr. Obsidian that question to help clarify that he was actually American, and as a way to kind of push back against that narrative. But I have never, I never once believed that the Black Manosphere, as far as I know, it was like, I guess, primarily ran by people outside of the USA. Like I've never thought that. So I just wanted to be clear. I wanted to be clear on that. But the reason I asked Mr. Obsidian that question was because I heard those ideas floating around. And so again, me thinking he's like the spokesperson for the Black Manosphere, I asked him that as a way to clarify. But again, like I said, I guess it was my error in how I presented, how I presented things. So let me continue.
And she went over there and she talking the same talking points that everybody else does. The whole white manosphere, the whole Black Manosphere, she's talking the same talking points. Her talking points doesn't mean that she went to school in the Black Manosphere. Anybody can pick up a pen and piece of paper or listen to a podcast and take down notes and learn the talking points, learn the stats, because we publish them for everybody. I heard white guys, even Nick Fuentes himself, use the word gynocracy. Damn well he didn't come out of the Black Manosphere. A lot of guys in this sector took a big hefty pay cut. Talk about personal goals, a big hefty pay cut to be here. Because we are Black men, we care about Black men and the plight of Black boys. Have 6 PhDs willing to put their CV on the line because they care about the plight of Black boys and men, and they want to see a change. We don't need to apologize to anybody for anything.
Yeah. So again, and this is where, like I said, I think I came off as unclear. What I know there's content out there right now that are throwing all kinds of names at the Manosphere. I've heard the cooning, or people raccoon selling. There's just been a lot. There's been a lot thrown out there. And in general, I just try to be a person that treats people with respect and honor. Even when I brought in Mr. Obsidian, there are a lot of people who were saying hurling insults at him. I try to keep it classy because I'm like, I believe each person should be able to have whatever opinion they want and be respected for that, just because they're a human being. With that said, I was never trying to put the Black Manosphere on trial. That was never my intention. My intention was to understand the direction of where it was going. And to be clear, I reached out to Mr. Obsidian primarily because, you know, I've had I spoke with him the most, and so he's usually fast to get back to me. But I left a comment, I think, on one of BJS's channels to reach out to him. I've found that I don't think that comment went through because I was driving in an area when I left the comment, and I don't think it went through. I also reached out to Dr. Tizon Johnson. I've reached out to Sarah Garvey. I reached out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Like, there are multiple people in the manosphere that I reached out to try to get some more clarity as to what's going on around this whole case. And it just so happened that Mr. Obsidian he's very responsive. And I think we've developed that kind of relationship. And so he was really, quite frankly, the first one to just hop on and have this conversation. But again, like I said, I wasn't putting him on trial. I wasn't saying the Black men they need to answer to me. It's like, who am I? I'm just a person trying to learn things. It was really me more trying to understand what the direction of things, especially as it relates to some of his more recent lives and him assuming command. As I think one of the accuser mentioned earlier, you know, he assumed command. Literally, I'd have to go find that exact place. He's like, okay, leaders lead from the front. Here are some more ground rules. So I'm thinking, okay, so what are these new ground rules? And so again, that was a misunderstanding on my end. I think maybe I should have looked at things in context. Edward Anderson helped me to understand a little bit more how dynamic this is and how I probably need to maybe ask more questions before I come to conclusions. But again, just to clarify.
But guess what? Nobody speaks for Black men, including pro-Blacks. They don't speak for you. BLM, believe it or not, was a pro-Black organization before they got found out. Trust me, believe, I know about 2 female lawyers that work for them in Los Angeles, that work for BLM. I'm not going to say who they are, but work for them. So they got found out. I currently am still a what they call pro-Black conscious community, nationalist, whatever you want to call it, Pan-Africanist, whatever you want to call it. I still do that. Do it every week. I still live that. Still part of my jacket. How dare you question who we ride for? If we wanted to prefer Keisha over Karen, there's a sector in here called SYSBM, mad bus driver, that does that all day. Keisha and Maria and
good morning, traders and investors. The day you've been waiting for.
Yeah, and again, that's where I aired. Like I said, the Keisha over Karen, that was in response to a conversation I had directly with Obsidian and emails that I sent to him, based upon some lives that he said. But like, again, it was wrong for me to take those positions and to assume that was perhaps a general direction that was going. And if you look at some of my experts, like I talked to him about the Black male political agenda and all of that, because my thought here was, from what I understand, the Black Manosphere is very much about advocating for policy changes and things of that nature, especially as it assumes to as it pertains to Black men. So one of my questions for Mr. Obsidian was like, okay, well, actually, no, well, I'll weigh in on that a little later because I don't want to go too much in a tangent. But case in point, that is where I was. Again, that was where I was wrong to assume that what one person said was maybe reflective of the overall point of view, but I was not, like I said, trying to put anybody on trial. And I was not trying to say that Black men were chasing snow bunnies. That was not my intention. If you go back and look at my lives, or actually look at my interviews, you won't see me say that at all. You'll see me ask questions as it relates to the Black Manosphere. The questions that I raised to Mr. Obsidian specifically were like, okay, so the positions of the Black Manosphere are this. The positions of the Black Manosphere are that. So you'll see I'm seeking clarity. I'm not telling him you need to do this, you need to do that. That was not my intention. Okay, let me continue. And then I've dropped the link. I don't know if BJS is still here. You are free to call in if you want, and if you don't want to call in, that's totally fine too.
And all those other kind of women that they can choose. Now we could go back to the general manosphere and make a whole bunch of money talking about stuff that we talk about. We want to talk about the plights of Black men and boys and our women, or what we think are our women. So no, we don't prefer Karen over Keisha. There's a ton.
Okay, looks like I have them in the back. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Hey Shay, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for calling in. As I mentioned before, I will mention again. I apologize
Mm-hmm.
if it came off as if I was trying to like
It sure did.
control.
with,
Yeah,
with, with all the things that are going on, if I had put that post on Facebook with all the things that are going on, what do you think the women and everybody else would have thought about that post without any explanation?
well, that's a good question because the way I was looking at it originally, I mean, well, Edward broke it down to me. I was like, I was misinformed. I was completely misinformed.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that post based upon a false premise. So I can't
Mm-hmm.
say from that anything positive would have come because I did it based upon a false premise.
You know how many people sent that to me when you posted it?
Wait, said what to you?
It sent that to me. Sent what you posted to me. About 15.
Oh wow.
Right after you posted it. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. So, and I think I mentioned that before. I'm listening to some different content from Mr. Obsidian. We're going back and forth. And that's actually why we had the live. I had the live and I was like, okay, help me understand the direction that this thing is going and why you said some of these different things. And so I mean, I had the conversation yesterday with a few people and they kind of helped clarify like, hey, this is a lot more dynamic. The space is a lot more dynamic.
You ever try to herd stray cats in your life?
Yeah.
The Black Manosphere is a bunch of sigmas. They're stray cats, and try to herd them all in one direction is damn near impossible. We've all gone at each other's heads and throats over the past 8 years that I've been here. Okay. Going through it right now. I'm going through a whole group of fights with content creators right now. Stray cats, sigmas. Okay, in the background. Okay, and there, I can tell you, go over to Bernard Riley's, okay, because those are the group that actually agree with what she was saying. Everything that she said, to Nick Fuentes, they agree with. And I've gone to battle with those people over the past 4 or 5 years. We call them the conservatives, okay? But they're part of the manosphere. They have a right to have a voice. But the thing is, everybody don't see eye to eye. And there's some things that Obsidian has said about black men and black people that would shock you. Okay? That would shock you, which is some of the things I have issues with him.
Okay.
Okay. But that is part, that's why the manosphere is not a monolith. In fact, it's not even a group half the time. It's a bunch of stray cats trying to find a direction, trying to find where the food is.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to work with on a daily basis. I'm in the pro-black sector, so I know. Okay. People that know me, people that know my real name, they know that my mentor, she's one of the biggest names with the so-called pro-black community.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, with all of that, I could definitely see how that would be a huge mischaracterization of the space, and that was my intention. But I apologize because my goal is never to undermine the work that any of you guys are doing, because I do think that men need to have a voice. And I do think that it's important for women to try to seek to understand the plight of men more. That's partially why I do what I do, but I don't
I get that.
Leader. I don't at all.
I get that's why it shocked me that post came from you. That's what surprised me. Okay. Yeah. I never would have saw that one coming. Not from you.
Yes, but what I wasn't trying to say was, oh, black men are just going over here chasing Becky. I hope I was clear about, how that was inspired from different things that I'd heard from Obsidian and conversations we had, which is why we had that last minute live on Sunday where he was like, hey, let's talk about it. And I was like, okay, come on. And then we kind of hashed a few things. But now, I'm kind of understanding a little bit more. I should have maybe said, hey, here's the position I'm hearing from Mr. Obsidian. What do you guys think about this? Or made it.
You should have. Yes.
Yeah. Versus being like, he's a leader. Because up to this point, I've kind of looked at him as, I don't want to say the de facto leader, but kind of, he's a forefather. And
he is a forefather. He's
one
of them.
So yeah, and maybe that's my feeble attempt to try to make sense of, I don't know if there is really a hierarchy.
I mean, the thing is, go ahead and ask the question, where's the direction of the Black Manosphere going? You can ask that question, right? Because I know, okay? 1.0 was just to actually clap back because of what has happened over the past 30 years with intersectional feminism.
Okay.
And then black men were actually blocked, by the gatekeepers from having a voice. YouTube came around and it was unfiltered. So black men said, okay, well, now we can clap back. Okay. That's what they did until, YouTube and the black women chased them off of YouTube, right? Got their channels deleted, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
2. Go ahead. 2.0. Okay, we're going to clap back, but things we're going to actually dig in and we're going to find out and come up with evidence. Okay. And it's the three ideas of 2.0 was Obsidian was one of them. He said he wanted to have a conversation with black women, bring them back to the table, because black women when I first got here in 2014, 2015, black women were not effing with us. They wouldn't talk to us. They would not have a conversation with us. It was just they would stand over from the corner, from the porch, and throw rocks at us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So his one more thing, he wanted to have bring black women back to the table.
Okay.
To have a conversation. Okay. The second thing is from my advantage, my point of view, we actually want to dig in and find out what is going wrong with black men and women and why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. And actually find the evidence and go back in the books and back in history and find out exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. And basically, number one is to find out what's wrong with it and basically change black men's worldview and basically make them value themselves, because black men as a whole did not value themselves.
Yeah.
They looked at their manhood and who they were through the eyes of women. I wanted to change that. Okay. That's what I came in here for. There's other things that we had to do. Okay. And the third thing from the Black Manosphere standpoint, we wanted to get our message out to the broader public because nobody knew who we were or what kind of message we wanted to actually put out there, and the plights of black men and boys that we're actually going through. Everybody ignored that. Academics, the press, even the pro-blacks. This what Dr. Johnson calls flag blackness. The plight of boys and men were actually ignored. It's the third thing, right? Okay. COVID and Kevin Samuels actually broke through that ceiling, right? Broke through that glass. Now everybody knows. Okay. COVID also did what? It also put a dent into the United States economics. Black women had to come back and had to have a conversation with the men that they needed. They couldn't stand over on government benefits or government benefit jobs or soft jobs and throw rocks. Okay. Now we have to have a conversation. Now, because there's genuine competition for men, and black men and women have to come together and kind of find some kind of common ground. So black women came back to the table, evidenced by Kevin Samuels, because night after night, guess what they did? They lined up. What do we need to do to get a husband? What do we need to do to get a high value man? We don't understand these guys. So all of what we call the purple pill space, you said, spread out all over the place with black men and women coming on panel, talking to each other. That's them coming to the table. The third thing is that all the PhDs are in this space. Now we start digging back into the books with stuff they don't even teach you in college. Start digging in arcane books that nobody talks about. How we got here, why we're like what we like, and why our culture is the way that it is. Even down to now, women are actually admitting that this is a matriarchy. They didn't admit that before.
Yeah.
Now it's common knowledge. In fact, the women are beating their chest about it. That's the matriarchy. So all these things that we wanted to cover. So 2.0 basically did its job. And if the Manosphere could have ended right then, as far as I'm concerned. But brothers say the next step is now to try to change the environment and legislative environment by getting laws and changing the way the legal system works for black men. That's the next step. That's where 3.0 is going. The thing is, to do that, you have to advocate to the people actually running the system.
Okay.
And that's where Miss Pearly comes in, because I said that on lives. Pearly can talk to people that we can't talk to, no matter whether she's racist, she could be a race realist, she could be whatever she is. She could be the devil incarnate herself. The thing is, you cannot talk to other white women the way Pearly can. You just can't. She can get in spaces that we can't.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why she's a tool. She's not part of the Manosphere. She never was. Miss Pearly is trying to make money. She said that from the very beginning. She couldn't do it here. That's why she went there. Sarah Garvey and all the people that work for her said the exact same thing. Her base is not here. Her base is over there. That's when she blew up. She said it herself. She never expected to get this far this fast because she's tapping from a different source. If you take all the black men in the United States, all 20 million of them, right? There's 2 billion black people in the world. Okay, she taps into the continent, she taps into Europe, she taps into sometimes even to America. It's a wider base, and they look at her differently. So everybody's thinking that all of a sudden we blew her up. Every content creator is telling you the exact same thing. We didn't blow her up. We didn't start her out. We did not pump her up and to get her where she is. But guess what? Nobody believes us, do they? We've been saying that from the very beginning. But who believes us?
I mean, well, it doesn't sound like a ton. It's interesting because, and maybe I don't know if this goes back to there being a difference of opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think in the thing that you mentioned, you had said something to the extent of people calling her like the new woman king.
Yeah, that was Omawale Africa in O'Shea. They did that about 6 months ago. Okay.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, you're right. And then, and I think I've done many lives with Gendar Spurling. I don't think he's a part of the Manosphere anymore, but I know in some of his recent lives. Oh, okay, never mind. Well, I have.
He's a stray cat, double Dutch.
Okay, yeah. And like I said, maybe this is where Mina understands, because I listen to Gendar Spurling. I listen to O'Shea, obviously, who I know has had some things to say about this more recent events. I listen to him regularly. I emailed him too, like I said, I haven't heard back. Obviously Obsidian, he just responds really fast. So again, I was not aware of how dynamic this space was.
Have you ever tried to herd stray cats?
No. Oh man, no, I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Trust and believe, I was on the Art New Styles channel last night. I had to clear up a couple of things with a couple of people that came from my Coliseum back in the day, right? The Black Brain Trust. We had to have a 2-hour argument about the direction of the Black Manosphere. Okay.
Oh wow.
2-hour argument. This has been going on over the past 2 years with a certain group. So it's a bunch of stray cats. It's not a monolith. There is no leader. That's probably the problem. Everybody said, "How come you don't gatekeep the Black Manosphere?" It's a commons, just like Green Gorilla said. It's a commons. You can't. It's an open space. You can't police an open space.
Well, I'm kind of curious because so you said this current phase of the Manosphere is really going to be about trying to push for policy changes that are
policy changes, legislation, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So then, who would you say, in your opinion, given those recent goals, who would you say are some of the more influential creators within the space that you would recommend?
Any one of the PhDs, Dr. Ronald Neal, obviously our honorable Dr. Tiasan Johnson, who you have on with the 17 points, okay, which most people in the Manosphere actually read it over. The right side, what we call the right side, the left side, in the middle, agree with. They all agree with those points. Even some white men agree with those points.
Okay.
And believe it or not, the other people called the Brookings Institute also agree with those points. Richard Reeves, why do you think he put down Dr. Tommy Curry's book in his book and mentioned him? That's the model that they're working from. Okay.
And you would say, so those are like the PhDs you would recommend as far as?
I would recommend, those are the first people I would actually recommend as far as changing men's and boys. I might be secondary. Okay. I'm not as esteemed. I don't have the CV. I don't have the background that they do. Okay. But that's why they're here. They're here to actually, because policy, me and Dr. Johnson actually talked about this, and also Dr. Neal talked about it. Policy emanates from the universities first and then works its way outward.
Okay, that makes sense. Curious, so how important was Man-Not, do you think, to the development of just the Manosphere and where things are today?
Basically, a lot of things that are in history are hidden, and it takes somebody like a genius like Dr. Tommy Curry, who's our our I am Hotep of the space, right? Genius. Okay. Man Not is a foundational book because it explains the plight of black men and our position in this culture.
Okay.
Which we're not allowed to be men in this culture. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not. Not even that in our homes. We Dr. Johnson came up with this term called ConcuSurf. Okay. We have the same position now that we have in slavery, which is for breeding and for work. So we're there to actually supply resources and for breeding. I was just reading a post about if you're a dark man in Miami, you have all these Cubans and white folks picking you up to be bulls. So basically, everybody sees it the same way, either for sex or for work. And if not that, you're cast away, you're locked away in a prison someplace, or thrown away on the street. If you're not useful to the system, they throw you away like a broken toy.
Yeah.
Even young boys, if he's not smart enough, bright enough, can't sit still, they put him in special ed and shoot him up with Ritalin to get him out of the way.
Well, because one thing I've noticed, I've done a few videos about this, right? Where I've seen, like more recently, like a couple of times where Black women have gone viral for twerking on babies. No, it's like,
I know. I'm laughing, but the thing is that that's how come me and Dr. Green Gorilla is actually going through Dr. Kenneth Clark's book, The Dark Ghetto, which the Moynihan Report was actually based on. It was based on two books that's based on the Negro family in the United States and Dr. Kenneth Clark's Dark Ghetto. Dr. Kenneth Clark actually did the doll test that Thurgood Marshall actually used to actually desegregate the schools. Okay. So he used that book to actually base it on. But if you read that book, called The Tangle of Pathology, right? Okay, the ghetto culture that Dr. Clark saw back in the Bronx in Harlem back in the 50s and 60s, right? A small percentage of people of urban Black culture that was what we call defective or degenerative, right? And he calls that pathology. And what said this tangle of pathology is tangled up because we have a compressed class system, right? He's afraid that it was actually going to infect the middle and the upper classes. So what you see with Megan Thee Stallion twerking and all these other people twerking and Black women looking at these reality shows where they fight from the ghetto classes to all the way up to the entertainer classes, even the Ivy Leaguers, what I call the 92 octanes, the corporate class. They all think the same way. Okay, that's all their guilty pleasures. So all this pathology, this Black pathology that Dr. Clark talked about back in the 60s, he was trying to stop. Moynihan was trying to stop the same thing. We have to heal these people, otherwise it's going to affect the rest of the Black culture. And it's funny that we talk about a woman twerking on her baby. That's the pathology he was talking about, but nobody wants to admit that.
Man, so then would you say that's partially a result of the matriarchy? Would you say that
that's partially
or the unchecked matriarchy?
It was the unchecked matriarchy. That's the problem. It was unchecked, and this kind of ribald, degenerative, decayed behavior is part of the what I call the gynocracy. Okay, because women that should check it don't check it. And men, Black men in this system do not have the power to check it. First thing they say, who's gonna check me, boo? Black men don't have the power to check their women. They don't run anything. Politically, financially, politically, homes, educationally, they don't run any of this at all. I just had a conversation with FD Signifier. He had to admit the same thing. We don't run anything. We never did.
Which is why I was talking to my husband about this recently, how like it's kind of interesting how this whole conversation in the last couple of weeks, I think, has really brought up this idea of not only cultural gatekeeping, but building, right? Because in order to culturally gatekeep, you kind of have to have systems and buildings. And that charge is always given to the men. But my thing is, it's like, if we agree that we've been in a matriarchy, would that not be the woman's responsibility to do it? Or how can we blame men for it if it's been under the leadership of women? Or
do women take responsibility for it?
Well, I don't think so, because I'm like,
They
if
don't.
it's patriarchy,
They
then
don't.
you also have to
And
take responsibility for this.
there's a meme that goes around. I have to borrow it myself. It's always Jermaine's fault.
Oh, I have a follower who actually that's his name. That's his.
Yeah, it's always Jermaine's fault. You always blame it on Jermaine. Black women have 31 forms of birth control, but if they get pregnant and have a baby out of wedlock, and he doesn't sign up to be a good father, it's not her fault. It's Jermaine's fault. Should have got me pregnant. They don't take responsibility for it. They never do.
So I don't want to harken it back to this, but you mentioned the Moynihan Report.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think any of these are just remnants, or just somewhat of a, I don't want to say remnants, but as a result of slavery and
It is.
control
It
and all?
is.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It is. The black community that was bred, because you go back to the American slave coast, right?
Mhm.
Okay. 91% of black people in America that were slaves were bred. They weren't imported, because Thomas Jefferson in South Carolina and Virginia cut off the slave trade. They want to make more money from their own slaves by breeding them. So they cut off the external slave trade and bred them. So basically, they were bred, but to breed them in a patriarchal society, they had to suspend the patriarchy, because the position of the womb determined whether the kid was actually going to be free or enslaved.
Yeah.
So that means the woman. So that means the woman had to be in charge. So the child had to be passed down through a maternal line.
Oh, yeah, matrilineal. Yeah. Okay.
Matrilineal line, and then since the father was there for breeding, he had no control of his children. Who had control of the family?
Okay.
The women.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and when if you read Diane Stewart's book, Black When Black Left, she says the same thing. It's the exact same thing, that they tried to, once we were freed, they tried to force patriarchy on black people. Okay, force them into a paternal, a patriarchal nuclear family that it didn't take. Black women weren't for it. They still aren't for
it. Man, it's kind of complicated.
Fraser said this. Fraser said it. Fraser's book, The Negro Family in the United States, he's got 6 chapters on the matriarchy, on the black matriarchy, and how it's passed down. Even why black women refuse to give up the children, no matter what position they're in. White women will do it in a heartbeat. I can't take them, give them to the father. Black women do not do it because it's embarrassing for her to do it. She would rather live on the street with her children than give them to the father, because that's the culture that's been passed down to black women. But nobody reads this stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, read. It's like, that's a whole other conversation.
I know. It's a whole nother conversation.
Okay, so that makes...
including to people that have gone to school. Whole nother conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, because you go to school and you don't learn about our experience. And then even when you do, like, let's say you go Africana studies or something, it's not through a unbiased lens.
No,
it's strictly more feminist propaganda. I mean, and quite frankly, I was talking to my brother-in-law about this, who's currently in college, and he was saying how, like, even in Africana studies, is like truly the natural result of going to these colleges and different things is like women coming out and hating men. Like, that's the natural byproduct of going. I went to Berkeley, right? So I know all the kind of stuff that goes down there. And it's like, yeah, that's the natural byproduct of going to school and getting educated and reading, unfortunately. And you're certainly not going to be learning about Black history K through 12. And if you do learn about it, it's going to be through a very skewed lens. So it's like, if you're not being taught that at home, or you don't have people in your community who are teaching you, then it's like, probably what you were alluding to before, you're going to be naturally repeating the patterns that you were forced to have, unless you actively do something different.
So you get a white girl raised in Chicago in a white system, going to white schools, and she comes out with the idea that slavery is actually embellished. Where'd she get that idea from? Oh, she was taught like that, like
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, but people get say, "Oh my God, how can you say that?" That's what she's taught.
Well, when she said that, I mean, my first video, I was just like, "Are we really surprised? Like, this is like a
We have
white
black
person
people. We have
having
black people say the same thing.
You do, and yeah, and they'll literally say that, and they'll be like, "Yeah," and then it's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, another conversation. So why are you getting upset? But things people get upset because they want to be offended. If a black woman had said that, nobody would have said not a squat.
Unfortunately. And I think, and this raises another conversation, which I probably will do in another day, because I think this does raise an important question of, if we agree, right, that the Black community has been under the matriarchy and still is, then what responsibility do Black women have to build it? Or what responsibility do they have to repair it? Because the question has always been raised to the men. But it's like, what responsibility, if you have the power or the control, what is your responsibility personally or collectively to ensure that things are repaired with the power that you have? And I don't think that that's...
Do Black women take care of the men or make them equal? You can't do both.
I don't even really know that, truthfully. I don't really know if equality is desired, though, because equality would require a level of responsibility and accountability that I think a lot of women aren't trained to say it, but a lot of women aren't trained for.
They are trained for, because in the Black family, I should go back to fences, right? Okay, which is the typical Black family in the 1950s, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Troy comes in with his pipe, with his drink, okay, sits down in the chair on payday. Who does he give the check to?
His wife.
Does the bill with Rose? No. He sits Paul sits down in his chair, and she gives him his drink and his pipe. He gives her the check. She runs the household. He's not there to run the household. And she's not the shy, submissive person that she's made out to be. She's not. Okay. She when she disagrees with him, she does what she wants to do, not what he wants to do. And I saw that in my family with my mother and what she did when she paid the bills and the stuff she said about my father behind his back when he was at work. Okay.
Interesting.
And my aunt said, my aunt, who I thought had the perfect marriage with my uncle, they were married from like 19 until the day he died at 83. Okay. And stuff that she said about her marriage and the agreement that they made, I said, okay, marriage is an institution and it is a commitment. It has nothing to do with love. Okay. And a lot of stuff she said, I said, I never thought she thought it that way about him. And she ran the household. Okay. She laid down the law.
Very interesting. Well, what I've heard just in general from like the narrative I got growing up from Black women, and I there's many Black women I know who think or believe this, but the narrative was basically like, get your own job, get your own money, so when the nigga leaves, you can take care of yourself. But that was kind of like, that's just kind of the idea that's just floating around in general society.
The majority of homes, we was actually going through the Moynihan Conference of 1890, right? And back then, during right after emancipation, right? The majority of homes actually were owned by Black women, wasn't Black men.
Wait, you said during
right after slavery, okay? The majority of homes actually owned by Black women. It wasn't Black men.
So
Black men owned homes and property.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I heard was that that was partially as a means of control, because many of those women, correct me if I'm wrong, were the descendants of slave owners, right? And they were mixed.
Some of them were, yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know if I read this somewhere, but it was to say like basically a daughter, right, who was basically the product of a slave master who was mixed. She may or may not have more privileges than a man who was more mixed, because the man makes babies seen as a threat. Babies
was
more likely to revolt, whereas the woman would just kind of keep things.
Education was never meant for Black men. In fact, they said that he didn't know how to write. In fact, I used to hear this story all the time. In fact, I've seen it, right? Black man, he works with his hands. He's a carpenter. He's a farmer. He's whatever, right? Okay. His wife reads, writes, and does all the bills, right? He has to sign his signature with an X. and her name next to it. Okay, because education was always meant for the girls in the Black community. They've always been more educated than the boys. Always. There's never been a time where you have more educated Black men than Black women, ever, ever. In fact, it's one thing that was in the Moynihan Report, right, from Clark, right? Even back in the 1940s and 50s, 75, 80% of your valedictorians in Black high schools were female.
That's wild. Is that consistent across races?
No,
Right?
no.
Okay.
In fact, that's what Chetty and Reeves are actually talking about, right? In the white community, it didn't flip until after what is it, Title IX. Okay, it didn't flip until the 1980s, where white women actually not only caught up to white men but passed them. So now you have almost the same skew of white men to white women that you have with Black men and Black women. But the skew with Black men and Black women have always been there. That's historical. But the thing is now, white men are facing the exact same thing that Black men have been facing. Since our inception here.
Well, where do you think? I'm curious. Where do you think, like, the society, and more specifically, like, where do you think the Black community is gonna progress towards, just with the current democratic culture?
If you actually read the Moynihan Report, I suggest people read it. Right at the very bottom, okay, bottom, he tells you where they wanted to go. They need to actually correct these people, get them into the family of America so they can be mixed in just like everybody else, just like the Irish and the Italians and the Germans and the French. They all got mixed into what we call white, okay? And their prognosis is to add them into the mix for everybody else. They want the Black community to actually disappear.
Oh, yeah.
That's called integration. They really mean admixture.
Okay.
Which you're seeing right now with amongst disease. Disease are admixing like they want them
to. Yeah, I had a panel of them a few weeks ago, and every last one of them was just like, yeah, race isn't really, all across the board, like, yeah, race isn't really a defining factor at all.
So, but we get mad at a damn near Generation Z white woman saying the same thing. We get mad at her. That's what she's been taught over the past, her whole life, really. That's why she dates Black men,
Well, and my thing is, from what I've observed, right? It could be, I don't pretend to be an expert. From what I've observed, other cultures who are legitimate about cultural gatekeeping, not only do they have systems, but they have customs that will help maintain their culture. For example, I have a Chinese friend of mine who her parents are from China, and parents straight up told her mom should have told her, like, you bring a Black man home, like, you're not getting an inheritance, straight up.
Okay. Like,
maybe I think there's a pass on a white man or other kinds of Asians. But anything outside of that, it's like, you're not getting an inheritance.
So when have Black people actually cultural gatekeeped, especially Black women? At what time? At what point?
I don't think that's. I mean, you have to first have gates, right?
Number one, Black women were brought over here not to be wives to Black men. They weren't brought over together. They're brought over. They were actually bred to actually do what? Have children for the slave master.
Yeah.
Whether it's his or the buck that they actually paired her with. They sometimes even castrated men that were not viable enough. They just castrated them. Okay. You can't reproduce. We need workers, and you're not big enough. So we were cattle to them. That's why they call it chattel slavery. Okay, we're cattle to them. Okay, so you were never brought over here. Read The Daughters of the Trade, right? Go read it, right? They try to pull that one off. I actually read the damn thing, right? You were never brought here to be wives to Black men. Where's the gates? There's the gatekeeping that's ever been there. We try to say there's a gatekeeper. Black white men have always had access to Black women.
Yeah,
okay? They always. That's where the redhead stepchild comes in. That's why a Black man can actually raise a white man's or a half-white child. Okay, his wife gets raped or she has an affair with a white man, and he's got to raise it. He just has to. We have to adapt to being stepfathers to all kinds of folks. That's why Black men are the best stepfathers on the planet. We were actually socialized to be that and expected to be. When we actually finally have a generation that says, I won't be that, people get upset. But you've always been that. How can you not be a stepfather to a woman that has five kids by 5 different fathers? That's never happened before. I don't want to be that. Well, why not? Because we've always done it. Well, we've been bred and socialized to actually be that way. But now that we won't, now there's a problem.
So, well, you said, okay, in Moynihan Report, I'll have to go back and read it. I read it a while back, but and there are a few things that I do remember about that report, but one of them you alluded to is essentially the overall desire to, I mean, lack of a better term, breed us out, right? I mean, there's Thomas Jefferson who had that.
Breed us in, basically.
Breed us in, yes, yeah. Right? You had that math equation that Thomas Jefferson put together on how to like systematically breed out black. And so that being the intention of the USA, my question is, because essentially you have a movement now of black men kind of going against the grain, right? Like, could those steps or could that movement help challenge, I guess, that original intent that was mentioned in the Moynihan Report?
Where do you, okay, to breed us in, where do you send your kids to school?
Well,
I mean, basically, the people need to study the Prussian school system, right? Okay, that's why you use it. It's the best brainwashing system ever invented in the world. That's why it's adopted all over the world, right? How do you actually socialize or indoctrinate children to actually be compliant adults? So you send them to a school system that teaches them that. What do they come out on the other end? What do you expect?
I mean, what we're seeing, what you're seeing.
And the best way, what is it? I always said this. I've been saying this since I got here, right? The biggest factor of dating and mating is what? Proximity. Who you next to? I don't want my child dating Latinas or white women. Where you send them to school at? Is it an all black school? No. Then shut up and be quiet. Let it happen.
Well, do you think there's also the opportunity of like, okay, let's say they are an integrated school, but you're really teaching them about their culture and trying to instill love and pride and stuff like that. Like, do you think that in of itself could be a strong?
Oh yeah. Until a little black girl I call Klingon comes up behind him like they did to my grandson, slap him upside the back of the head because she tried to get his attention.
What?
Yeah. That's common. It happened to me when I was 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was that's a mating strategy for black women.
Slapping them upside of the head.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Hit them in the back, slap him upside the head, call him a name, tell him he's ugly, tell him he's nasty, all that kind of stuff to get his attention. It's the mating strategy.
Oh God. Sounds horrible.
Get a bunch of kids that are teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That go in a mixed environment and ask them how black women actually treat them, black girls actually treat them. See what they say.
I want to say I've already heard enough, but I know I haven't. I'm sure there's worse stories out there. you have to go there.
It just happened like a month ago. Well, he goes to an all black school. It's an all black Catholic school. He wanted to go, okay, and he in 4th grade, there was a little girl that liked him. He liked her. He went up to her and said he thought she was cute. Okay, he actually approached her. My name is blah blah blah, and I think you're pretty. I think you're cute. And she called him ugly. She called him a name, and she walked away. Okay. And from then on, they've been arguing. They were arguing back and forth, even though she liked him. She liked him, but her mating strategy actually called him a name and told him she wasn't interested and that he was ugly.
Honestly, that's no lie, because sometimes she'll go and do that, and then she'll go talk to her girlfriends and be like, "Ooh, what did he say?" And then they'll try to make him like work harder, to make him kind of jump over hoops just to get.
That's fine. That's fine in a closed system. If it's all black women, you learn that this is the way black women approach you. Okay, that's just part of the game, right? But if you have a white girl or an Asian girl that walks up to you and say, "I think you're cute, and my name is Cindy," who are you going to pick?
Cindy.
Cindy.
I have some of my friends who are white, like straight up took the first move.
Mhm.
Gave him the number, like,
Yeah.
hey, put himself smile, like straight up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and we're like, no, they had no problem making themselves look like had no problem doing it at all.
Yeah.
That was like so foreign to me.
Yeah. It was just see,
Foreign.
it's foreign to you. The thing is, you know, most black men have been raised in a system like me. Okay, I'm used to it. In fact, when the subtle approach doesn't really work with me very well because I'm not used to it. But thing is, to kids that actually raised in that environment, she called me ugly. She says I was cute. I'm gonna pick her.
Yeah,
That's what's happening. Yeah, it's a mixed environment.
I
But
mean, it's
trying to tell black women, black girls this, I don't want him to think that that he's worth something. You know, I don't want him to get a big head that I'm gonna do all this. Okay, well, yay, okay, fine. That's what your mom and your aunt all tell you the same thing. Now, girl, don't make him chase you. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my friends, white girl, she literally, I think one of the ways her husband knew she was the one was something happened where he got sick. He was sick, and they weren't even dating. They were friends at the time. Dude got sick, ended up in the hospital. She goes there every single day, made him some like homemade soup,
Mm-hmm.
like brings him some food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think a couple of days in, she calls me and she's like, I kind of feel like I'm dating him, but like I'm not. Like was like she was
Being
being
good, being nice. Yeah.
she was being nice. But
Mhm.
I mean, for him, that was it. Like they
Yeah.
started dating soon after because she
He's
cared for him.
he's
You
not
know?
used to he's not used to people being nice to them. What would you? That's one thing Kevin said. Okay. And I had to struggle too because my mentor, uh, she was saying that about black women, trying to get black women to actually smile at a black man when they meet him. Yeah,
Yeah.
smile, say hello instead of turning your head and turning your nose up at him. You know, it's like okay, why is that so hard? And then
No,
you want like I think your friend said, you wonder why they don't want to date you or why they date white women or Asian women, right? I think your friend said that, didn't
it was
she?
my friend who said that.
Yeah.
It was also this is another white friend of mine that I have who literally saw me at the gym one day and was just like, she was like, why don't you smile? She's like, you look mean. She's like, you need to start. She like kind of called me on. She's like, you need to start smiling. Like if I liked you as a man, I wouldn't approach you. You look mean. And I really had no idea. I think I just
Yeah.
was so used to you
Being yeah,
know,
that's the normal face for a black woman. Yeah.
yeah, I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yes.
And she had to tell me. I was like, oh my gosh, like you're so right. Like once she told me, but God knows prior to that, I probably had all kinds of poker face. And it's like you see him, it's like, or you
Yeah.
just like look the other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
In other words, black men are dangerous. They're after you. They're
yeah.
gonna ruin your life. You got to be guarded against them. All this stuff that the women that black women and family tell you about boys. Okay, I used to do this experiment with my coworkers. Right? Uh, what's the difference between a white mother and a black mother? Okay,
Oh God.
you ready? Are you want to hear it or not? If you don't want to hear it, I won't say it.
Wait, me?
Yeah, you want to hear it?
No, I can hear it. I'm thinking of the different spoofs that I've seen on YouTube and in life of
Okay,
black
all
women.
right. The biggest thing, and I never had a black one actually disagree with me. Right? Okay. A little a white mother and a little white daughter will see a little white boy smiling at her daughter, right? She'll
Mhm.
bend over and say, "Isn't he a fine young gentleman?"
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
She'll whisper it in her ear, right? I've seen it. But a black mother and a black daughter with a black boy, if he smiles at her, she's gonna say, "Don't be looking at them nappy headed Negroes or that nappy headed boy," and snatch her and walk off.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've seen it. I've seen it happen with my sisters. I've seen it. And no woman ever disagreed with me when I said that. Not one. Because it happened to them. That's the difference.
Hmm.
That's why you have the mating strategy that you have. Look at love and basketball. In fact, I've had many women talk about that and laugh about it because, yeah, that is so true. How they fought when they first saw each other.
Oh, man, I gotta go back and watch it.
First time she got a little scar on her face because he pushed her into a rose bush. She actually wore that scar for the rest of her life as a badge of her affection for him.
Mhm.
That is what they call black love.
All black.
In
Yeah.
other words, what is you got to stand in it with them. Okay, the power struggle. You got to put up with all her whatever it is, right? The power struggle. That's part of black love. You just have to be in it with them. You got to be able to be man enough to what, you know, to handle me. You got to handle my dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
You can't handle me. In other words, I'm so dysfunctional and broken. I don't think you're man enough to actually handle me. You got to prove to me that you can handle me.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's like when you hear from the other perspective, the female perspective, it's like you want to make sure he's going to treat you and value you. You're worth this, you're worth that. You don't want to settle. So it's like the story being told. It's a different narrative. Like it's the same story we're hearing, but it's like the narrative from the female side is different.
Yeah.
Right. But then I guess what it translates to as far as men who are still assumed that they have to try to pursue. Because let it be clear, although we talk about 50-50, all this, we still know the men are the ones who are supposed to pursue. Men are the ones who are supposed to pay. They're the ones who are supposed to, do the brunt work of all that stuff, even if she's a PhD.
And black men are supposed to qualify.
Yeah, no,
absolutely. Qualify for their women. Okay, white women don't say that. Your white woman, white Finn, didn't say that. Okay, she said I have to qualify for him. Total opposite.
She literally said she's like, I figured out that I don't even know if I could date a white guy because I'm too opinionated. During that live,
yeah,
I'm going to snippet that, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Y'all, super chatter. Y'all wanted this conversation. Pay the lady. All right, come on, stop being cheap.
Real quick, I do see a few.
Go ahead and read them.
It says, an engaging and highly intellectual conversation with Shay Sade and BGS after all the emotive screams and mudslinging. This is the perfect anecdote. Thank you so much, Byro. Hammer TV with the $4.99. Also, shout out to Crimson Cure. I saw you in the chat hanging out. It's always good to have you. This is King of Kings. Join Uncut Underground 10 to get in. Thank you so much. This is the Professional 238 with the 20. It says, good conversation. If you have questions about the space, consider reaching out to Ed Anderson. He's both a source of information as well as a reference. I will be sure to.
He's been here since the beginning. So.
So he was 1.0?
1.0, yeah.
Oh wow! Well, because 1.0 start like in the general manosphere, and then it kind of
no, it actually started as his own thing.
Oh,
2007. Okay. It wasn't called the manosphere then.
Okay.
We just kind of actually named it that after it disappeared.
Okay, so I'm curious. So the manosphere that term came later on after you guys had already been doing your thing.
Like it came in like 2009, 2010 from the white manosphere. That's what they started calling it.
From the white men, okay.
You had MGTOWs, men's rights movement, and then the pickup artists, the founding of the white manosphere in 2011, I believe. Because I was a MGTOW back in 2013, 2014. So I've been in the white manosphere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which I know that because I brought on early on. I brought on someone who said he was MGTOW and Red Pill, and I interviewed him, and then I got a lot of feedback, and they're like, "That's not MGTOW." I'm like, I don't know. Just interviewed with somebody. I'm sorry. Okay.
Read your super chats. They're coming in.
Okay, it says respect to the master teacher BGS. It says no one BGS tax $4.99.
Appreciate you, no one.
BGS honorarium. Thank you for the 4 on the super chat. It says deadest anime with the 5. It says this is my BGS black pill tax.
My black pill brother, dead set anime. People don't want to know about the black pill though.
Oh, okay. It says one of the issues is people conflate black YouTube in general with the black manosphere. They're not one and the same. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I have people who follow me who are black men who don't consider themselves in the black manosphere.
They're not, yeah.
Yeah. Roderick Johnson with the $49.99. Thank you so much for your generous support. Barry Hamilton with the $4.99. Dane C always coming through some support. Thank all of you guys so much.
That go the money.
Oh, looks like I got some more. Passport OG, it says these history lessons help people understand what's going on now. BGS tax. Absolutely. This has really been really helpful. Shout out to you, Darren Jones, BGS, the GOAT, 1999. Thank you so much. Mr. Donnie Mack with the 5. It says BGS Immortax, much needed and refreshing conversation. Reminds me of BGS for women.
Oh yeah. I did that for like 4 years.
BGS for women.
She came from my BGS for women, Crimson Cure.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The way back.
Man, okay, yeah. Like I said, I'm still kind of a newbie dog. I mean,
Yeah, you are. Yeah, crash course.
Crash course. So the interview with Obsidian turned out to be a blessing. It have birth to this conversation. Thank you so much for the 10 on the super chat. Yeah, and again, thank you for coming on and clarifying some of these points, as I mentioned before, and I will continue to mention. I do not pretend to be the expert on any of this, and the more you talk, the more I'm just like, man, this goes deeper than I thought.
Oh yeah. We just scratching the surface.
Scratching. But I think it is interesting to know what you mentioned about policy changes, and that was one of the conversations that, or one of the questions that I originally had for Obsidian. Now, granted, it was under the false premise, but the Black Mon political agenda, the 17-point that Dr. T is on and put together, and then there's that point number 13 in particular that talks about Black Mon reparations. Mm-hmm. So I think that was another reason I initially wanted to talk to him, because I'm like, okay, like he personally has made it clear that he's allied with her, but I'm like, she's against reparations, and aren't you calling for Black Mon reparations? So how does that work? And I mean, based on what you said, maybe there's not a clear strategy yet on how to go about advocating for those different policies. Maybe that's something that's still
well, you have to make a statement first and then develop the policy. The idea has to come first, and this is a planting the flag. This is actually an objective of ours. Plant your flag. What is it? What do you want? Okay. Then how do you get it?
Okay. So then would you say that this current phase is still maybe in its developmental phase?
Just right after the death of Kevin was the end of 2.0. So this is a new phase. Okay. Really, it started with the with Ice Cube and the what is it called, the black male agenda, and we actually what we call the Ice Cube effect, where black males want something for their vote. And that Dr. Neal said that back in 2020 when it first came up with the Queens and Ice Cube and his plan for Black America. That's where the Ice Cube effect actually came from. Black men actually wanted an independent voice from our women, because women actually separated themselves from us. So now,
which is yeah. And my husband told me this, right, where he was like, unfortunately, but we see this where it's like Black men and Black women are political enemies. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that is what
competitors, yeah.
Or okay.
Competitors, not enemies, but competitors. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you think the manosphere is one of the goals to maybe work more closely with a politician, or maybe to get behind a particular politician, or are you guys still trying to keep it apolitical?
Apolitical, but no, political, but also social pressure.
Okay.
Social pressure will change. That actually works faster. Social pressure. Which is why you get a Reeves and a Chetty and a Galloway and those kind of people, because the same effect will actually ripple across more communities, like the Lane Flat in China. The Great Resignation in America, okay?
Okay.
Or the boys and men, rather than dating and working to full capacity, actually developing families. I'm gonna stay home with my porn and my in my video games, and work at a minimum wage job and earn enough just for me. I don't care about dating. I don't care about interacting, having kids, I'm not going to worry about that, because the bar has gotten way too high. It's not worth it. The juice is not worth the squeeze anymore.
And that's where you're saying the current trend is going, as far as, the current trend, whether it be for Gen Z or just more men in general, are finding that as a more peaceful existence versus like trying to work and try to barely make rent, and then you have a baby, 2 or 3.
Have a baby for a woman that that doesn't respect you or like you or anything like that. Especially Black women, they don't respect you. In fact, I've heard that from the Concrete Rose. She said the same thing. I actually made a meme from it, right? We don't respect you. We don't think you're worth anything, and blah blah blah. I said, but you expect us to actually marry you after all that? Really?
Well, I've always said, and I alluded this to my interview with Obsidian World. It's like, I would never tell any man, black man, any man to marry some woman who doesn't respect them. I mean, that would be like that'd be like suicide, literally, to that person, that man, and to that relationship. That'd be a horrible idea.
But we have what called pro-blacks. We have intersectional feminists. We have all these people demanding that black men come in and marry these women. I said, what do you get out of it? You got to save the black community to do this, though, right? For what? Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to what I said earlier. If we assume, and if the narrative has been, accepted that black women have been running the community, it's a matriarchy, then at some point there needs to be a collective responsibility or ownership of like, okay, we have a part to play in this too. Arguably a bigger role if we want to say that we're leaders. But at least
4 out of 5 politicians, office holders are actually women. 4 out of 5.
Right. So at a certain point, at a certain point, you like there has to be a level of responsibility of like we have a part to play. It can't just be like I saw a post earlier. What was it? It was something to the extent of black women dating out is completely different than black men dating out. Like
there was Kimberly Foster from Harvard.
Oh yeah. Kimberly Nicole Foster. And gosh, I want to do a video on that. I haven't got there yet, but it was just like, are we really having this conversation?
Yeah.
Like, are we still?
And guess who said that? Guess who said that back in the 1980? Bell Hooks in her book, Ain't Our Woman.
I've never read that book. Oh my God. Okay. I'm like,
in other words, racism, as she defined, was white men not marrying black women.
Well, I've caught on to that because I will say the only time I've seen black women really want to be pro-black, truthfully, is when it comes to colorism, texturism, futurism, and basically being mad that they're not first pick to Brad.
Yeah. And Kimberly Foster just said the same thing. Just maybe a couple. I actually had to do a video on that about pretty privilege.
Yeah, like that's really the only time I hear them want to talking about the patriarchy and racism and all this kind of stuff. Like there doesn't really seem to be an interest to understand how it impacts men, right? And their jobs and maybe their social position and the economic position. It's only when we can't get dates. You go to those.
Yeah, but nobody talks about only 10% of black boys can read at reading level. Nobody talks about that at all. It's not important.
And you know what I have found too, even when you do talk about it, it just doesn't get as much traction.
They don't care. Nobody cares. They don't care. He doesn't need to read. Go get a trade.
Yeah, no, it's real quick. I went on Joe's with the 5. Shout out to you, Joe's. Dane C with the super sticker. I thought I saw you.
You did read it, yeah.
Yeah, the piece Che Hey. Okay, yeah. So I got that one. Again, Crimson Cure, I appreciate you. Wait, I want to make sure I got the other super chats. I try to star everything. Thank you guys for the support. I wasn't expecting this. BGS Tax learn from the master teacher. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go back and clip this stuff up and revisit it so I can take it all in. Says it just tuned in, but heard BGS say throw out some dough. So BGS Tax.
Yeah, the BGS Tax. Yeah, that's the hashtag.
Okay.
Every place I go. Yeah.
Says, shout out. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. So shout out to Crimson Cure for giving props to BGS and Angry Man for welcoming her into the Black Manosphere. Yeah, absolutely. Again, shout out to all you guys for showing love and support. It says Spainman with the 5. It says I saw that community post and raise an eyebrow. Thanks for this clarification session. Tax BGS Tax. It says Passport Bros making sense yet. I have always been a supporter of Pastor Bros, even before we had this conversation, because I understand. I just talked to enough men, and I've seen enough to understand that it's rough out there. It's not to say that there aren't lovely women somewhere hiding behind,
behind with the RBF, in the supermarket line.
Okay. Yeah, seriously. Or they just don't want to go online and face the heat. They're just not interested. So I was not to say it's not out there, but it's like I understand. Look, it's like a man should be able to make whatever decision that he wants. Like it's not my job or anyone's job, frankly, to tell a grown man how he needs to choose how to date. Like that. That's
Black women have ownership over black men. That's in their minds. We own them. How dare you go someplace else?
but that would require a community. I think if we really wanted to have that sense of ownership and camaraderie and you own me, I own you, because it's like if a black man says, "Well, I own you," then that's like he's an oppressor and he's trying to,
Yes,
control
yes,
you, and
yes.
so that wouldn't work if a man says it. But if a
Yeah,
woman says it, it's like,
that, that's why black women get upset when a black man dates out, and not upset when she does. It doesn't work the same way.
yeah,
That's the way the community is.
yeah. Shout out to Jastic. Actually, I did one with Dr. T's on a few months ago. Since then, there's been a few points added. But we sat down and went over the Black One political agenda. So you may want to check that out. It was a really good collab. I'm trying to bring him on. I know he's, I think, in the middle of writing something, or
He's trying to finish his book. Yeah.
yeah. But the goal, once he has that under his belt, is to come on and kind of go over. I'm supposed to collab with him and Cultural Clinician about sexual abuse, and specifically as it relates to men, black men, and how to handle that. I think that's a topic that needs to be addressed, but I don't pretend to be the expert and I wouldn't want to misspeak. So that's why I'm bringing him on to hopefully talk about it and bring a little bit more understanding on, because it obviously impacts people. And unfortunately, I just don't think these conversations have been had, but they need to, because boys are, I mean, I've seen too many videos of little boys being twerked on for me to know like there's something going on.
Oh yeah. And little girls in their little bitty toy cars saying what is it, FNF?
Oh God. It's so disgusting. And I honestly, I think it was the last few posts that I've seen of black women twerking on those kids that I think I really started to understand. Like, I don't think there's ever a time that black men as a collective are seen as young and innocent, even when they're kids. Because like one woman in particular, when she got caught out, she was pushing back and she's like, "Oh no, he a grown man. He this is that." He looked like he was in diapers.
Yeah.
Literally. And she's talking about he's a grown man, he can handle it. And I'm like,
that's the way that's Tommy Kerr is saying the exact same thing. That's where they view us. There is no innocent for black men or black boys.
Yeah. And that's what I've noticed.
We're objects. We're not people. We're not people. We're not human. We're objects.
Right. So so that's another thing I'm hoping to work on. Once I know he has a lot going on, we'll get to that eventually, but it's a much needed topic. Also, a quick question for you: what do you think? Because you mentioned, correct if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned that in your personal life you were still engaged in maybe what would be considered the pro-black space. Which
no, engaged, considered no, the foundation of the pro-black space. Okay?
Oh, the foundation. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. But I know Dr. Anderson personally.
Okay. Okay. Now, with that said, online, at least, I'm sure you've seen the terms like pro-whack and different things. They seem to be put oftentimes as oppositional. Although, in theory, correct me if I'm wrong, in theory, some of the primary ideals of the pro-black space would be helping to create systems by which we could culturally gatekeep more, by which we could maintain a sense of integrity. So why do you think those things are oftentimes
well, the old community going all the way back to slavery, right, got destroyed during 9/11, got blown up. Okay. New people came in, and then you have the internet where anybody doesn't have to be vetted anymore. Just come in, speak your piece. If you're popular enough, you get ears and following. Okay, there are no more gates for it. That's the problem. So it's not the same thing as it was prior to the year 2000.
But part of
completely different. Yeah.
You think it has?
That's where the pro-whack comes in. So any crackpot theory about black people can actually come in and bypass all the all the gatekeepers there, because there are no gates. You got the internet, you got YouTube, you got online presence. You don't have to be vetted anymore.
Got it.
You just have to be vetted. You just have to write something, be in the community for a while, get a following. You have to be peer reviewed.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
more peer review anymore.
Do you think that undermines some of the work of that
Yeah,
particular space?
it does because we get all kind of theories and all kind of beliefs about what being pro-black is, and it could be anything from intersectional feminism to which people hate. That never was a thing in the pro-black community. Okay, abortion rights, which they do hate. Okay, they tolerate homosexuality, but the thing is, it shouldn't be centered. Okay, it's more traditional family making, that kind of stuff. Pro marriage and less about single mothers is tolerated, but the thing is it's not encouraged. Lots of different things. How to for men actually taking responsibility for their kids, and women taking responsibility for their wombs. Okay, old-fashioned African or old-fashioned values, whether it's matriarchy or patriarchy. Matriarchal system doesn't work the way we actually work this system. Okay, single mothers are not allowed in the matriarchy. They're not. You got to be married. You got to have a family. You got to have a father for your children, because that's what's most important. They don't. The cons do not play that shit. Okay, no, you're not. You don't have a baby out of wedlock. We don't play that. You have to go. You have to go get permission from the matriarch. Has to get married and have a kid, and she will get on your ass about that.
Wait, and you're saying this is more in the pro black space.
Pro black, yeah. We use this out of the conscious community
Oh,
way back then. Yeah.
It's interesting because one of the things, and maybe this goes back to what you said earlier now about they're not being vetted, but one of the pushbacks that I've heard about the pro-whack, right, I'm using that in quotation space, is that they make excuses for single mamas, and that sometimes these women will run to that space once they've had enough kids and they're looking for somebody to take care of them, and they want the polygamy set up.
It's the same. It's the same thing with the black church. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
After you've done that, yeah, you got to run. You got to run and be forgiven. You have to be accepted, and basically that's what they did. Okay, you know what? We clean you up. We clean you up. We're gonna find you a mate because we don't want a unregulated family. Okay, it has to be regulated. Okay, you can't run around loose with all these loose kids. You gotta find somebody for you, and it will do that to protect the community.
Mm-hmm.
They don't encourage it though. They're not going to give you a baby shower when you have a unplanned pregnancy. Okay, not like they do now.
Okay, so you're saying it's more about maybe trying to help repair where somebody is at and get them to the next phase versus celebrating bad behavior, which is what you see in mainstream culture.
Yeah. They did that in the crack era. They actually, they came in. They had baby by, a drug dealer had 20 kids and had to go to jail. You have a bunch of kids. You have 10 baby mamas and 20, 30 kids running around with no man. Okay, what do? You have to go in and find a community. Okay, and somebody they have to clean her up, coach her, teach her, so men will actually take her and her children. It happened in the 80s. A lot.
So you're saying men were in the 80s, men were encouraged to go take on those kind of
somebody had to. Yeah, somebody had to. Somebody had to save the black community. That's what happened.
Wow, that's crazy.
No.
And you're hearing that in church? You're saying you're hearing that in church?
And in church, the black community, that was the black community. Okay, we're trained to do that, right? Because the black family is actually a survival mechanism, right? How do you actually keep this system going without it imploding like that? That's one of the mechanisms. Okay, she got 2 kids by 2 different fathers. Get on her ass, clean her up, get her right. Okay, find her a husband, so she can actually be a wife to somebody. So these kids don't come up improperly. That's what happened in the 80s. Men don't get credit for that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like really there, I guess, to really be observing at that time, but
I was there.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm thinking now because I've been in church my entire life, right? And I've had my fair share of black churches, and I can think of a sermon or two where men were being encouraged to step up, and
step up,
step up and take on these. Oh wow, I didn't really put that in context.
Yeah, that's part of the tradition of the black community. Yeah.
And so what you're saying, it sounds like under that paradigm, there was never really a time where it's like, okay, what are the men looking for? Like, what would be a good wife for them? What would be a good catch for a man who's spent his time trying to build himself up emotionally, spiritually, economically, and is ready for wife.
Well, you don't want a ready-made family if you can't if you can't afford it, or or basically if you don't want one, right? They don't encourage you to actually start out that way. But if you can't, okay, you need a wife, she needs a husband. These kids need a father. Make a family, because that's the way it is.
So the assumption is that she's gonna go mess around like that. It's already assumed that the woman in that parent is going to mess around, and then at a particular time she's going to have kind of like that backup plan.
That is the assumption. Now the thing is that she should be chastised, and there shouldn't be a whole bunch of these women floating around like this. You know, not encouraged to do this. But if she's if she's actually going to do this and have made these mistakes, quote unquote, okay, then she has to do something to actually repair herself. Not taking me as I am. Got to repair yourself, baby. Like Kevin said, you're damaged goods. You're Ford has old Ford that's been wrecked a couple times. Okay, you're not a new car rolling off the line. Can't demand the same thing, same price.
Yeah.
You got to fix yourself, got to clean yourself up, and present yourself to a man that will actually accept you and your children.
Yeah, and I talked to security boss about this, right? Because I mean, her story was kind of similar. I guess she got really young. She had a baby, and then it's like crap. And then, but she found someone. They've been married now for almost 30 years, so it's like it's no shade. But she talked about it's like if you're gonna do that, like you still need to be trying to present something. Like you don't want to be sleeping around right on Monday and then Wednesday thinking you're about to be getting this husband in a nice house.
Yeah.
And you have all this baggage. Like you need to still try to go through whatever purification process necessary so that you're presenting something of value to a man that you still want. And also, by the way, be realistic about what you can get.
Right.
Right.
But that doesn't exist anymore. And the black men say, we're not, young black men say we're not doing this anymore.
Again, I would say you can't really shaming to me. I don't think really works. Especially, I don't.
If sign language, we train for it. That's what the whole community is built on.
Yeah, but we look at the community and see the results.
Well, now it does because now you have what destroyed the matrix? Choice. Black men have choice now.
That's true. That's true.
They didn't have it before.
But I think, because I see Passport OG. It says, no worries, or no lectures more. Yeah, no more lectures from strippers and single mothers. Exactly what I said. I'm like, at the end of the day, if there are men out here who think it's a better deal for them to inconvenience themselves and have to go to another culture and learn another language and learn other practices just to find something that's basic, what is that saying about the quality of what's
exactly
not out here? Like, if you think about it, that's why I never really had smoke for the Passport Bros, because I'm like, first of all, if you're a good woman, then I think you won't have an issue. You'll stand out. Secondly, like, instead of just trying to shame all of them and pretend they're all crazy, how about let's try to understand why they feel the need to inconvenience themselves? Because most men, I want to womansplain, but I'm like, I would agree that I think just humans in general are generally going to go with what's easier. So if you find someone who's nice and you're attracted to, and they're
cooperative, trained to be a wife, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, there's no need for you to go in another country.
Why take a woman that wants to be a partner? Okay. Why take a partner when you get a wife?
Yeah, but you have to want to be that.
Yeah, well, they don't want to be that anymore. I hear from my daughters. I don't want to be a wife. I want to be a partner. Good luck.
And it's funny because what was that stat? I think, is it 2030? I don't remember. 2040, when they're saying like 45% of women are going to be single with no kids.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact date, but it's coming.
It was 2030. They talk about the disease,
yeah. And what's crazy, I had to, like, when I just sat down and thought about my own immediate circle of people that I know, friends, Black friends, my family, people I went to school with, and I just thought about my immediate circle, and I was like, oh, that person, baby mama, like plenty of baby showers, but I'm like, and I'm thinking, like, where are the weddings? And really the majority of weddings, if not all the weddings that I've been in, and intended have been my white friends, if I'm just being quite frank. And like I sat down and thought about it. I was like, wow, I never put two and two together. But I'm like, man, like I'm seeing this live out in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's hard to know what to make of it. I think it's just kind of a trip.
It's not valued anymore for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, and I wonder as the economy changes, right, as things become more automated, because it's not like I see a ton of Black women working at the grocery store and this is no shade. Look, I love
with degrees, yeah.
Oh, with degrees?
Yes.
Wait, working at grocery stores?
Yeah. Bachelor's degrees, working at grocery stores, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not okay. That's news to me. I assume many of those lovely women maybe didn't have the opportunity to or whatever. And again, it's no shade. Like thank God for the grocery store clerks thing. I'm not mad at it, right? But I look at that because it's like, you'll see the checkout, you may not see a ring. It was just like, okay, fine, but they may be a little older. And my brain, I just think sometimes like, okay, I wonder like, what's the retirement plan going to be looking like? Like, what's the long-term strategy? Because from my understanding, grocery store clerks aren't really making a ton. And in California, the Bay Area specifically, you living on a grocery store clerk salary is not, maybe like in the Midwest somewhere you could do that and be fine. But like not out here, you have to be sharing a room to do that and still be able to survive.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah. It's going to happen more, especially with automation, replacing grocery store clerks.
Yeah, so it's like marriage isn't valued, but I'm like, is there going to be a time where it becomes more valued because of economic reasons? Is that going to make women have to compete to a certain extent because they're going to see men as a necessity, or are they just going to be turned more into themselves and explore more LGBTQ stuff? Or
well, they call it conditionally lesbian. Yeah, that's going on. Forming what they call gyneprotestal networks, where you have groups of women taking care of each other's kids, that kind of stuff. More of a extended family. Yeah.
Wait, is that like a nonprofit that they're developing?
No. It's like it's like a clan, right?
Oh,
group of houses next to each other where I can just drop off my kid or two kids, and you look after mine. I'll look after yours.
okay.
We'll, I cook a meal, share it with you, vice versa. More like a what is it? Not a commons, but more like a what is it? A worker co-op, like a co-op, family co-op.
This is not the first time I've heard about a co-op. Yeah, and or living communally.
Yeah, communally. Yeah.
And to be fair, most people that I know who are really pushing to live communally are moms with a lot of kids. Like you're hard pressed to find a single person be like, I want to live, or a couple. No. It's usually like,
I need an adult to help me with these children. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I can't find a man, so I don't want a man around. So I find a mom in the same situation that I'm in, and we can actually share resources and share time.
Do you think they're going to ever position for polygamy? Or we're going to try to make that legal?
No, not in America. Not in America.
Not in America?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we're actually going to go for that one. Not legally.
Just wondered because if things continue as they are and women don't necessarily change their dating standards, but they also want men who can help take care of them. I'm just thinking economically. I tend to feel more women would be willing to share a high value man versus settle for someone who they consider average. I hate to say it.
Does that high value man want more than a couple of wives?
I'm not a man, so I can't say, but I'm like that sounds like
so far as no, when they can actually get on the plane and get whatever they want, right? They don't have to have a wife here; they can have it wherever.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah. So you're not competing with the local environment, but also the international environment.
Yeah, the international. That's true.
I hear it all the time. Yeah. Competition is fierce.
And it's just getting
started. Yeah.
Yep. And that's why
I was trying to tell Black women this like 5 years ago. You don't want to compete. You got to get ready before you have to compete. They're not ready though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's almost like the mating strategy that's been given to women, Black women, is like 50 years old. Like we haven't
150, 150, yes.
like it hasn't been updated at all. It's like you do
No.
understand that this is not this, like you said, the
I,
shame isn't gonna work. The Yo Mama was black. Especially you can't pull the Yo Mama is black as you're wearing a blonde weave and then talking about like that's really not like kind of be doing it. And that was my main pushback when I know this whole last week it's been a lot of back and forth, but like a few months ago, I think when Just Pro things had just started taking off, and I saw a lot of pushback from some of the women, and my first thought initially was like, we're not in a position to really try to talk about her because first of all, we're wearing her hair and we want to sleep with her brothers.
mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about swirling and divesting and you're wearing blonde weaves, like you do know that white women are they are in the conversation. You can't culturally gatekeep if you're wanting to interracially marriage. Like that doesn't really work like that. So that was my initial pushback months ago. Now I know things have changed, but I think as far as, Black women being in a position as in a collective to really try to hold
them accountable,
right? When it's like, can we even hold ourselves accountable? Like, can we be honest?
And what we're trying to do is keep the young guys engaged because they don't care anymore.
Yeah,
they don't care anymore.
Yeah,
no, we don't care. We don't care about black women. We don't care. We pick the best woman for us. They don't care. Women haven't gotten it yet.
And that's where I think when Edward Anderson said, he's like, there is no community. He's like, it's just like a shattered pieces of glass.
It is. Yeah. Really wreckage of a survival arc. That's what it was designed for. How to get black people to actually survive in this environment. That's the black family with all this dysfunction.
Now,
what happens when it's not necessary anymore?
Even when the black family isn't necessary?
When the survival arc is not necessary. In other words, the way you treat us, what we have to put up with, all this kind of stuff is not necessary anymore. What happens to it? It's going to decay and fall apart. It's falling apart.
Yeah.
And the gender war is over. I said the gender war is over. Men don't have to choose you anymore. You have to go back and forth and argue with you or talk about getting with you. Doesn't matter anymore. Choose another woman. Whether she's here, another race, another culture, overseas, those are your options. You don't have to choose you anymore. There is no war. Do black women want to get chosen? If they don't, okay, fine. Go find somebody else. Like Edward says, go find another store. It's okay. Go marry off. We don't care. Marry who you want.
So that if you're a part of a space that still believes in building the black community.
Yeah.
But you're saying that the black community is over, or
it's at some point it's not over yet. At some point it can't be held together, and we're at that point where it can't be held together. Black women have to change, otherwise it's over. If they don't change, it's not going to be one. Do they want a black community? If you do, what are you going to do to hold it together? Because they're the ones holding it up. They're the ones holding on to the past with all the negative behaviors,
Okay, so that goes back to the point raised earlier, where it's like, what is the responsibility black women have to repair the community? Because they have a lot of power and control in the whole situation, and you can't claim to be a leader and then pass off blame. Subjects of your leadership. It doesn't really work like that.
Do you want your men or not? If you don't, okay. The men will adapt. And Sister George told me a long time ago, we won't believe that you are serious until you niggas actually leave. Passport. She told me that. Yes, she did say that. Okay. Now the blue passport waving in your face, right? We're leaving, okay? But don't go. You can't go. Can't leave us. You said, are you going to change? Well, we're not going to change. We still don't like you or respect you, but you can't leave.
Yeah.
Well, watch us, okay? Like your friend said, why would they date you?
I was thinking to snip at that part, but I was like, am I really gonna make people mad? Because I don't want it to seem like
I snipped it. I snipped it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know. Makes you think about a lot.
And all the men that black men have actually been in a serious relationship with a white woman, they say the same thing. It's a reversal. Okay.
I'll say I'll be honest, right? Moment of truth, where when I would see a black man with a non-white woman,
Mm-hmm.
typical, we're like, you hate your mama, you kind of like sidestep, like,
Mm-hmm.
you try to be nice, but you kind of thinking in your
Yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah.
And then of course, when it was a black woman, it was like, oh, no issue. Like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
And I hate to say it, but I was like, that's really what I believed. And that's also what's been promoted. So it's like, whatever. And I don't think it was really until I started maybe listening,
Mm-hmm.
and hearing different perspectives, and then also recognizing how it can be to engage and date with modern women, especially black women, given some of the different issues we have. And raises some valid points. It's like, of course, I believe in black family. I want to see black love. I want to see, of course, I want to see that. But it's also like you have to. That doesn't just like happen randomly. You don't just like wake up one day and you're a wife. Like that actually has to be instilled in you as a cultural value.
Yeah.
And if we know that our culture has a lot of trauma and a lot of issues, and so without that being dealt with, it's like you got women out here who they do even want to be wives, but they have zero idea of how to do so. And quite frankly, if they are to be wives, like I have one girl I know who's like 23 who wants to be a wife, and she has aunts telling her, girl, no, you need to focus on your career. No, you need to focus on college. You're not ready for that. Like even if you do are trying to go that route, then you're gonna have other ones. You're gonna have to go against the sisterhood. You're going to have to go against the sisterhood. And so it's like we have a culture that actually hinders the ability for these lovely women to actually grow up and be, well-rounded wives, real truthfully.
Yeah.
Value family and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. We go to another culture where she starts training at 3 to be a wife.
Absolutely. And
she's ready. She's ready at 13 to be a wife instead of 33 or 43.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to run the cock carousel and then have therapy for 10 years to get over it, and then have a few babies, and then when she's like about to retire, she's
once there's so many bonds that a woman has to be attached to. Once she goes through that, they can't be repaired. Can't be repaired. It's impossible. Like a drug addict, can't be repaired once you've gone through that process. And if you read The Alchemy of Love and Lust by Teresa Crenshaw, she actually explains that women are designed to bond to their children and their man.
Okay? Absolutely. Yeah.
It's only so many times you can actually bond and keep that same kind of same kind of intensity. I think once you get past 5, I think it is the experience. Once you get past 5, so to lose the ability to bond, the bonding. Yeah.
Oh.
That's why they're so mean to their children if they had so many partners. Those same chemicals to bond, okay, or actually build up a resistance to those hormones. Don't have the same ability to actually bond.
What do you think of? I think it's a microchimerism or whatever.
No. Basically, there's 15 hormones that a woman actually secretes during sex and childbirth. They're the same hormones, okay? That allows her to actually attach to that man and to her children. But it's like a drug. If you do it too many times, what happens? Build a resistance to it. That's what happens.
Right.
Men don't have the same kind of hormones.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
No, we don't have to bond to our children. We bond to our children in a different way. Not through the body. Mentally we bond, but not through the body. Women bond to their children through their bodies. Through childbirth and to their partners through sex, through orgasm.
Yeah, I think there's some misunderstanding. Correct me if I'm wrong here. You were saying that still involved in the quote unquote pro-black, but at a certain point it's together, but black women at some point have to be willing to do their part if it is to maintain.
It's to be maintained.
Right?
It's to be maintained, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was misunderstanding there. Real quick, too, I did want to acknowledge BGS Tack. Shout out to you, Stack or
Second star. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, I think I already saw that one about strippers.
With lectures for strippers
Like,
and single mothers. Yeah, we
it's,
just talked about that. Yeah.
who was I talking to? Who was it? I was watching an interview the other day, and it was a stripper talking about generational wealth. And I was like, at this, I was like, at this point, and
I
now,
think with a 6'6" the goddess, I do believe that was the person.
oh no,
No,
well,
wasn't her.
no, about wait, being a stripper and talking about generational wealth.
Oh yeah, she was a stripper. Yeah, but but must be somebody else.
Oh, I'm not okay. I'm not. I've watched a few of her videos. I'm not totally sure of her background. I've heard different things, and it's hard for me to know what is true, what isn't true. But no, it was not 6. It was. I think it was just an interview that I saw on the YouTube page, and I did come across an actual stripper who has, because I guess there's like a space in YouTube where it's just like strippers, and you can like they vlog. They just talk about like the life of a stripper, and they'll show you how much money they get, and then
they call them diesels, you know.
Yeah, and I'm like, to me, it used to be the kind of thing that you would not talk about, or like there was a woman over there that you kind of knew was doing stuff, but she wasn't, didn't have a table, or she didn't have the microphone.
Yeah,
right. Like she wasn't the one leading the conversation.
Intersectional feminism has brought us together, hasn't it not? And we're all into one big pot now.
Yeah, and I own respectability, which is a whole other thing. I'm like, respectability politics. I'm like, well, please, can we bring that back? Like, can we be respectable? Is that a crime?
The fall of the Roman Empire, right?
Yes. Yeah, that looks like where we're headed. I mean, even you have outside of the Black space, you have other white economists and thought leaders alluding to that, where it's like where the empire is.
Oh yeah. That's why I see the same thing happen to white men. That's why they're not used to it. That's how come they're pulling away.
Oh yeah, because you're saying this has been happening for Black men since the Great Depression, right?
It's just part of our culture.
Culture.
Well, white men are not used to being treated that way.
So
they say, so we're pulling it back. We don't want these women, or be treated that way. What do your girlfriends say? I got too much mouth. She's
like, I'm too opinionated.
Yeah.
But her husband loves her opinion.
Because he's black. Because he's black. He's used to it.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He values it, but
that's why she married a black man, because he's used to it. Yeah, of course. We're egalitarian like that. We do diapers, dishes, we mop the floor, do windows, all kind of stuff.
That's hilarious.
That's where we're trained, right?
Well, I mean, Black people, we've always been the workforce.
Yeah.
Right. That's what even when I think about Black women who really push for this like hypergamy, and I'm gonna like this kind of Miss Anne, right? The myth of Miss Anne, and it's like
myth of white woman.
Yeah, and it's like where did you get this ideal from? Because it certainly didn't come from your mama, because your mom was working, and your great grandma was working, and your great grandma was definitely working.
And they told you, child, get your education, you'd be like Miss Anne.
You'd be like Miss.
Yeah, she saw it. Be like Miss Anne. She ain't got to do nothing. She got a rich husband. Lives a leisurely life. That's what you should push for. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And the Miss Anne's on
antidepressants. Yeah. Don't clean no floors like I did. Do better. Be like her.
I see.
Not like me.
Yeah. So that's why they push for education and try to get him to get into different.
Yeah. Even I think it was, I forget her name, author. She said her father didn't want her doing cleaning houses and being a maid. So he actually sacrificed, sent her to school. Toni Morrison. Her father did that for her. He worked 2 jobs to send her to school. He didn't want her to be a maid.
Well, you know what is interesting, because I'm like, from that vantage point, I could understand why you would want better for your kids. I just wonder, was it maybe it was a feminism coupled with the feminism that made it? Because I'm like, having your sons and your daughters, bidding them to a better position.
But when Black women were willing to accept a blue collar man, that was the deal. They put you in a position you actually accept a blue collar man. In the 70s, they said the deal is actually broken. We're gonna have to accept you. Got to do better. That's what happened.
Well, and are you saying like that it would be common to maybe send the women to school, but not the men?
That's been always the case where for one child to go to school, it's always a woman,
Oh,
always a girl.
okay.
I've heard that from my neighbors. Same thing. Got to give girls all this education.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like the total opposite in Africa.
So they can actually, yeah, what is? We're not from Africa. We're actually bred here.
Mm-hmm.
Our culture is actually designed here in America.
Hmm. Wow, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it all the time. Got to get these girls education. So they don't have to clean house or depend on a man that's undependable.
Mm-hmm.
Black men are undependable. They're not reliable, and that's what they've been raised to think. And it comes back. You can't dig that out.
Yeah.
After 12 generations, you can't dig that out. He could die. He could leave. He could whatever. Right? Can't depend on him.
No, all of that. He could leave. He could have an affair. He could all the above.
Yeah, the average lifespan for a black man up until 1910, 1920 was 31 years old.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know all the, if I think of my the woman in my family lived like forever. It seems like lived way deep.
And the men die early. They still die early.
Yeah, they're 70, 60, you know.
Yeah.
Some of
black men start dying in their 20s. That's like there's such a big gap between available men and black women.
That's true. Yeah. If you look
they
at
still do. Yeah.
Ooh-wee. They're taking a lot of notes here. I have timestamps, but I'll go back. I'll go back and review. Like I said, I'm always here to learn.
Each one of these things has to be explored, individually. You can actually verify it.
What do you think of the code? I'm curious. I was planning on doing a live about the code because that's something I hear being thrown around a lot, especially in the conscious space. In the last few years, like, we gotta be in code, and it's like, do y'all even know what the code is? Have y'all even read Neely Fuller?
Not to speak bad about black people in front of white people. That's the code. Stay on code. Like Jews do and Asians do, they stay on code with outsiders, right? Okay. Black men are chastised to stay on code. Black women, not so much.
Would you say that it was black women that popularized, like, I mean, I'd have to, my husband said something that I was like, man, I need to tweet it, but it was something to the extent of like black women were the one that popularized making fun of black culture through media outlets. Not Oprah, but I don't want to like misquote him, but it was something to the idea of like they're the ones that kind of made it. Because now for example, words like Hotep, right, which mean peace literally, or what are used to describe more the conscious space, right? Like these terms that speak to someone that has maybe a pride in their black identity, but now they're used to make fun of, and you'll see that sometimes even in media and stuff, where like now they're making fun of people who express.
I think it's the intersectional training that these kids get. To respect the old fashioned ways, so they start throwing names at it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hotep and pro whack and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, they don't believe in it anymore. Yeah.
Well, and to me, that's the great contradiction of, especially when the lovely ladies want to talk about building and cultural gatekeeping, and it's like, if you're really serious about that, then you cannot like shame the men who actually would be about that. Can't throw them under the bus. You can't insult them. Like those are the men you actually need to be bigging up, or you need to be listening to, or trying to work with.
Yeah, and you have to do yours on the other end with the divestors and the swirlers and all the other kind of folks that come in your space that you accept.
Yeah,
okay? You can't pick up a black woman marrying a white man and cultural gatekeep. It's impossible.
Right, and that was my point. Where I was like, this is fake outrage unless we actually deal with these things, and then what are we willing to do to instill? Because like I said, Chinese, they have Chinatown.
Yeah,
there's Asian, like I'm gonna play Barry. You see Asian incubators everywhere. You'll see Asian store after store after store. Like whole areas will take over. They hire their own employees only. They work with they buy from each other. That's cultural gatekeeping.
Yeah, yeah. And black men are expected to actually uphold that, but black women aren't.
Yeah.
That's where you can actually throw a white woman at the Black Manosphere, and women can actually go ballistic. They know what actually sets you guys off. Red hair, green eyed, pale white woman.
What's that?
Ah, oh, you like her better than you like me. God damn it. That's what happened.
Yeah, somewhere, I it's like I'm trying to think of at what point it devolved, because it's like, of course, I didn't agree with the statements, but of course, it's like those statements are like, duh, a white person talking to white supremacists. White people talk to racist people all the time. It's in their
Right.
families all the time, so that's not
Mhm.
surprising. But somehow it devolved into infighting, and I mean, this is why we're here now.
Yeah.
I don't really know how it got there.
Yeah. All they see is a white woman talking to black faces. Doesn't matter where they're at. They could be in Timbuktu. Black faces and white woman. The picture. That's what they get upset about.
Fair point. Well, she's not going anywhere. I'm like, if you don't like her,
she's going to transition to the broader white manosphere. That's what she's set up for.
That's what it seems like. It definitely seems like she's pivoting for
Nick Fuentes was a test.
And I think she passed it, truthfully, because I'm like, she's cried all the way to the bank. She just posted that picture of herself in that summer dress. Her following is fine.
Yeah.
And Black YouTube is still trying to figure out its life.
Yeah.
But she's, like I said, her strategist. I definitely think that was strategic, because it
was. It was. You can tell.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. She ain't going anywhere. But this is interesting. I've taken a lot of notes. Probably a few things I need to go back and read. You mentioned Stay on Code, not talking bad about
the family business to outsiders. Okay.
Which I understand that, but I'm like, it's like, okay, for this channel right now, right? We can be having a Black conversation, but there's not like there's like a button you have to or form you have to fill out to make sure you're Black to be able to listen into this. Like anybody can watch this,
right?
So it's like, I feel like it's kind of hard to try to go gatekeep these kinds of conversations unless you literally have your own systems.
And she was a white person talking to another white person. How do we get involved?
Are you talking?
Yeah. In other words, how do you blame the Black Manosphere for that? We didn't set the interview up. Okay. But that's your girl. No, it's not. Who said that?
I think
we all denied it. No, we didn't. We didn't have go with Betty around the back. Around the barn last night. She's not our woman. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, so there's a lot of back and forth there. Obviously, I know. For me, I talked Obsidian, as I mentioned before, and that's kind of how we came to this own thing. Yeah. As you mentioned before,
Obsidian didn't get involved until O'Shea and Omawale did it the first time. That's when he got involved with it. He didn't know who she was.
And honestly, I didn't. I didn't. Like, I think it was a few months ago. Like when people right now were mad. Obsidian interviewed Pearl a few weeks ago, and for me, I was like, he already had a relationship with her. They had already spoken, so it didn't seem weird for me to talk to her. Like that actually seemed, that's what I would do. Like if I know somebody and there's a miscommunication, I'm gonna talk to them. Like so I didn't see anything wrong with that move in particular. I just think maybe from there are things were said. I didn't see the whole 8 hour. It was like 8 hour live, but I think that created whatever. And then after that, I know he was really siding with her and different things, and then you know.
Well, he's a bomb thrower, so yeah, that's who he is.
I'm learning. Like I said, I'm learning. I've been on the good side of Mr. Obsidian. I hear he's also very dynamic and has many sides.
No, he'll throw a bomb in a minute, so you got to be. He's a mad bomber. You got to be careful.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I have to come behind him and put out flames like I'm doing now.
Oh, okay.
Trying to put out a fire. Okay.
Listen, well, this is no shade.
It's gone too far. I'm trying to put out a fire.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm grateful to have this conversation. No shade to him or anyone in the manosphere. As I mentioned before, my goal has always just been to listen and to learn. So I never pretend to be I certainly am not the leader. Obviously, I'm not a man. So duh. Like it's my first thing.
That's why I was surprised with the post. I never expected that from you at all.
Yeah.
It kind of surprised. I said, "This can't be Shay." Let me read more about it. I said, "Okay, I got to answer about. I have to talk about this." Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
that's why I didn't come at you sideways. Okay, I could have started to, but I didn't come at you sideways.
yeah, no, and I like I said, I truly appreciate you coming on, and I mean, I guess the best analogy of trying to is herding cats. I think
Yeah.
that
Oh.
kind of
Oh my
kind of
God.
gives me an idea of
Oh
who's
gosh.
running what and who
Oh
is
gosh. You don't know half of it. Okay, you don't know half of it. Got about 5 fires they had to put out with
yeah.
all these stray cats running around doing what they do.
And I know you mentioned a few thought leaders, Dr. Ronald Neal, Dr. T. Hassan Johnson.
Yeah,
Obviously,
those are the PhDs. Dr.
these are the
Green
PhDs.
Gorilla, Dr. Ronald Neal, Dr. T. You got uh, Dr. Thunder in Ohio. Who else? Is there one more? Culture clinician.
Oh
There's
yeah,
one more. I can't think of who it is, but there's probably a couple more,
yeah.
depending on what it is.
Great. He's not supposed to be having him on.
Yeah,
So,
but
then, mhm.
no, but Green Gorilla and Dr. Neal should be one of your first stops because Dr.
Oh,
Neal's actually writing a book right now.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually listened to Dr. Ronald Neal. He has a YouTube channel?
Yes. He just did a video talk about we need to kick the quiches out of the manosphere.
Oh, uh-oh. Oh gosh, I guess I angered someone else.
According with your post, yes, you did. You're very effective.
Oh man, okay. Well, hopefully, what I've clarified this live has, people understand where I was coming from, and like I said, I would apologize again for ever coming off as if I was trying to control. That's like the last thing I want to do. I think it'd be silly for me to try to control grown men. That's weird. But I also now that you've kind of given me more perspective of just how dynamic the space is, I could completely see how that would come off as really sideways. So again, I want to apologize to you and everyone in the chat, and know that was not my intention. And I think moving forward, if I talk to someone from the manosphere, I'll try to be clear to just make sure like this is their position, and maybe just leave it at that, and not try to say that this is like the the general consensus, because it doesn't sound like you guys have like a board.
If you really want another side, hit up Bernard Riley and the conservatives. They actually agree with Pearl.
Okay.
They would love to have you on, or vice versa.
Okay.
You hear some real crazy stuff from them. Talking about being on code. Oh boy. Oh boy. Racism doesn't exist no more. It's a religion.
I posted something about it a few weeks ago. I think this was in response to something in Twitter where it's like, I totally agree that there are things that need to be built, and that, Black women can do things to help prepare the community, all that. But I'm like, you can do that and also still acknowledge that there has been things that have happened to negatively impact the Black community. I don't see it as contradictory.
And still is. Okay. Like the white women actually stole 82% of affirmative action. Nobody says anything about it.
Yeah. And so I've noticed that too in certain spaces or certain conversations. It's like, if you even hint at the fact that systematic racism is real, then they want to say that you're a crying victim, or that you're some like woke Asian or something or whatever. And I'm like, this is just a fact. I'm not.
It took a white man to actually, a comedian actually say Gucci boots over the line, over the fence of oppression. Yeah. That took affirmative action right to the front of the line. Okay. White man did it. He said it.
That's crazy.
But we
that's
can't
the only
say
way you're going to hear it. That's the only way you're going to hear it, essentially.
Yeah. Hood Scholar is the homie. Is the homie.
Well,
Hood Scholar is the homie. Yeah, Hood Scholar, not conservative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like Hood Scholar. I've actually been to bring him on again. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then just in general, right? If I want to understand just the best way to represent, is like if I am to interview somebody else in the manosphere, would it be safe to say, like, if I'm doing snippets or something, make it clear like that is their position, that's it.
That is their position, yes.
Okay, and leave it at that.
Leave it at that, yeah.
And then as far as the 17-point Black male political agenda, that also, I mean, those are different things ultimately that, or to be championed for or work towards. But again, it sounds like it's apolitical, right? So you're not,
Yeah.
Manosphere isn't pushing for necessarily Republican or Democrat.
No,
Or,
no. It's agnostic. Yeah. Political
okay.
agnostic. Yeah.
Okay. I do know there's a few that are obviously Obsidian open about being Republican. I think O'Shea too is also open about being Republican.
Yeah.
So I know there's a few that I follow, and maybe it's like partially my error is that I tend to follow some that maybe by nature share certain views for better or worse, and so maybe that could shape my understanding.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to you, KP Bailey, with the 5. I see the Cash App, and then also, I think it's Tot Riv 211. I hope I did not.
Two Triv. Yeah.
Okay, 2 Triv 211. It
Yeah.
says 5 for the BGS tax. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate that. And again, I do appreciate you also coming on and giving me a lesson and helping me understand more of how not only dynamic the space is, but just some of the other things that are driving.
Oh, yeah. You want to hear somebody that actually agrees with Pearl?
You said Bernard.
Bernard Riley. Yeah.
Okay.
Look him up.
No, I early on, I've been on his panel. It's been a while, but I was on his panel I think when I first started, I went.
You know how they are. Yeah.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute because that back then I think I was like, it was after I think I went on Obsidian because I connected with him early on in the space somehow, and then he was connected very much with Bernard Riley, and so I went on. It's been a while though, so could maybe go back and revisit see how things are going.
Oh yeah, bring up Pearl in their space, okay? You'll get a different perspective, okay?
You said bring Pearl in his space.
Yeah, and in his space. Oh yeah, get an earful.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's hard for me to even know. I think partially too because I have people who follow me who are definitely pro Manosphere, and then some who are adamant. Can't stand it.
Yeah.
And there's some people who I think I'm realizing more and more, and this is no shade to Mr. Obsidian. I'm sure he would wear this with a badge of honor. How controversial he is.
Oh yeah.
And how polarizing he is.
Yes.
Who, love him or hate him. It's rare that you find somebody who's neutral on him.
Yeah. He tries to be that way too.
Oh, polar.
Okay. Yeah, he's polarizing. He tries to be that way. He's a bomb thrower. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Something you saw my comment from earlier, right? Was it a super? I don't know if it was a super chat. If it was a super chat, I think I saw it. Yeah, sorry. Yes. So okay. So interesting. Very, really, really interesting. I'll be curious to see how these things evolve as regarding policy changes, because that's when it gets, I want to say real. It's been real up to this point.
Yeah.
But that's
it's got to change because the white men, the Asian men are actually complaining about the same thing. It's got to change.
Okay.
That's what they're pushing for. And Pearl's part of that change as far as the white manosphere.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So then up to this point, I mean, moving forward as far as the Black Manosphere is concerned, or maybe I don't want to speak generally because it's dynamic, right?
Right.
But I'm just thinking, do you think you're going to see a current trend as far as maybe topics of interest, or will there be maybe a shift in how things are addressed, or is it, think it's still going to be people talking about? I hear a lot of people talking about relationships. That's
that's because that's the first thing we actually talked about this last night. The first order of the Black Manosphere is actually almost like a group therapy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Where do you go when you're damaged, been hurt, confused? Come here first, right? Where like minds are.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And the second thing is to be heard. People like minds. Those are the first two tenets of the Black Manosphere. Okay. Everything else comes after that.
Everything else comes. Okay, so so is that how it started? It started just since just
like minds coming together to be heard and to commiserate.
Okay.
Like group therapy.
So then the advocating for the policies came. Now at this phase, but I'm saying as far as the talk about policies was later.
Yeah, which is adjunct to that. Been added to that.
Okay. Well, and that's probably maybe where the lead attorney comes in.
Lead attorney, the PhDs. There's a couple of them, like even Dennis Spurling. Is about that, about changing policy.
Yeah, he is. Okay. Although I know he's. You guys say he's also a stray cat.
Yeah, he very much so. He's my LA homie. From 60th in Vermont. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay.
I understand where he came from. He used to work at the McDonald's down the street from him. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though he's younger, but I understand the neighborhood.
So you know him personally. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
He's another fun, polarizing gentleman that I enjoy.
Well, you have to understand who he is. I understand who he is. So.
Oh no, he's great. Yeah, I have no issue with him. I'm just saying he's one person, kind of like there's certain people I bring on, and I usually get strong reactions. It's not like, oh, okay, it's just very much like or guy's great. That's it. Yeah. So, awesome. Well, I have some homework or some different people that I can look out for. I think to clarify again for everybody, I have learned more recently that the Black Manosphere is not only is it not a monolith, I guess it's akin to herding cats. As
it is. Jesus Christ, it is herding cats.
So never make the mistake that I made to assume that anybody's position is reflective of
the whole
position. Yeah,
of the whole. Yeah,
it doesn't sound like there is a spokesperson really. At best, there's maybe PhDs who help kind of shape some of the different.
They're here for policy.
For policies. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the PhDs are here for policy. They're not necessarily here for like talking. We're on talk points, but for values or ethos per se.
Not necessarily. No, not really. Okay. They're here for policy for the most part, right? How they talk to people that actually change policy.
Okay.
They can teach it, but thing is, but that's not why they're here. You need a policy change, okay?
Which is why
they have to be. Those are academics like you.
Okay, that makes sense, and that makes sense why like a Dr. T would be apolitical then, as far as how he presents his information.
Right. Okay. So you need to vibe with them because he actually graduated from Berkeley, so you're actually an academic. So talk to them.
Okay. I will definitely do that. Yeah, well, like I said, I've hit up Dr. T a few times, so I'm eager to chat with him as soon as he is.
Yeah. And maybe we can get Dr. Curry on for you too. So
yeah, I would love to talk with a Dr. Tommy Curry, maybe regarding his book or now there's anything else he's working on currently. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Okay, well, is there anything else that you wanted to maybe clarify with me or mention to me just regarding the first controversy?
I think you're starting to get it. So
okay, well, I do appreciate you coming on and hashing things out. Again, guys, thank you for those of you guys who are here, been listening through. As I mentioned before, I apologize for anybody for mischaracterizing or misrepresenting. It was not done intentionally, but I want you to know that I don't feel that I'm the boss of anyone here. I want to really listen and learn and understand what's going on, and that's what my channel is about. So don't make the mistake that I made, ladies. And
unless you want to get some heat, you call for the smoke, okay?
Yeah,
fire will come down.
And that's just not even. I'm not that kind of person that likes. Some people.
That's why it surprised me. It surprised me.
Oh yeah, no, that's not. Like I said, if anything like that comes off, then it's like okay, I've said something wrong or misunderstood because some people like controversy. I'm not. That stuff stresses me out. So even me coming on sometimes and even checking these ladies truthfully it goes against my personality because I tend to be more like go with the flow, like let's just whatever's easy. That's just more can be my default.
Right.
Yeah, but I do understand that there's times where it's like you do have to say the uncomfortable thing or say the thing that can make people upset because there's a greater purpose, and that's really what my channel is about. But I never want anybody to feel like I'm the mom of anybody because I'm definitely...
The thing is, when I came here, it was nothing, right? Like a broken piece of whatever, right? To get it from where it was then to where it's now is a miracle.
Okay.
With no money and no advocacy.
Fair point. Yeah, the fact you guys have been, I mean, you have PhDs, like there's a movement that's showing that in some time, you're going to start to see policy changes. You're going to start to see, because the pressure is just too heavy, you know? And I think that's, definitely mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Even as you broke down kind of the different phases, you're saying, okay, mission accomplished here, mission accomplished there.
Mm-hmm.
And, my goal, my hope is that whichever ladies, I know you're not going to save everybody, right? But whichever ladies are wanting to work with their men, right? And not do the whole.
If they want to, they want to. If they don't, they don't.
If they don't, yeah. And
in other words, that's why the war is over. You don't want to be part of the program? Okay, fine. The men will go elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no fight. There's no reason to fight anymore.
No, and that's important too. I honestly, I respect modern women who decide to be modern if they can fully accept the ramifications of that and don't blame the consequences or of their choice on men. I'm like, if you want to do the whole, you're going to be single always and never ever have kids and do whatever. It's like, that's what you want to do. That's fine. Like, I have no issues. Just don't blame that on men, or then use that as a reason to talk about how men aren't this or aren't good marriageable men out there. They don't want to commit. They're like, just don't use that as a reason to just now trash the community even further.
Feminism promised stuff that he couldn't deliver. That's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's we're seeing that. Some of us are feeling that. And truthfully, I think there's some who aren't able to face that. And that's partially why you see so much of a deflection on men, because being able to sit down and say, I believed a lie for 20, 30, 40 years is really hard. And so it's easier sometimes to deflect, because that way you don't have to like look in the mirror and say, crap.
It's always germane. Okay.
Yeah, that's always Jermaine's fault. Yeah.
It's always Jermaine's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a lovely conversation. I'm glad we were able to hash things out. And like I said, I have some homework. I'll probably go back and have to review some of this, because you dropped a lot of gems.
Well, you asked a lot of questions, so I'm trying to answer them. So
yeah. Yeah. I think I got all the super chats. I think I did. You guys, if I didn't, let me know. And I appreciate you.
And we're just scratching the surface. It's actually bigger than this, but it's just scratching the surface.
I absolutely look. Even yesterday, and I talked to Edward just for a few minutes. I was like, "Whoa, that's a whole lot of context I didn't know." Yeah. Like, somebody told me you guys started, or I heard one person say you guys started on Facebook. Another person said like Google Hangouts, and a person said there was like they've been here for like 10 years. I'm like, man, how long has this thing been?
2007, I think, is when it started.
Okay.
Phase 1.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm just here like yesterday. So I definitely don't, again, don't pretend to be the expert or the leader or know any of this stuff. It's like, I'm just still trying to catch up with, the current phase, let alone whatever other phases.
And we try to integrate this into the whole global structure. So we're trying to integrate all that in, which is another stuff.
When you say global structure, you mean as far as it also impacting like policies in general?
Because this is also structural, right? What we're going through, post-industrial structure is actually impacting every place. It actually lands like Korea, Japan, China, Malaysia, Africa now. They're seeing the same thing.
Because correct if I'm wrong. Are you saying because feminism has become so widespread?
No. Well, feminism is an effect, not a cause. Urbanism and post-industrial structures are causing all these things to happen. Like the biggest out of wedlock birth rate is actually Colombia, 85%.
Oh, wow! Wait, you said the biggest out of wedlock
birth rate is Colombia. Which is 85%, and basically 70% in, I think it was Costa Rica, 70%, 60% in Iceland. I think is 55% in 55% in France and in the UK. So it's all over. Like out of like birth rate in South Africa, it's like 54%.
I don't. Maybe
so it's structural. It's not just cultural.
Okay, maybe I'm confused because I thought men were grabbing their passports to get to countries where there weren't as many mothers.
But the thing is, as far as culture, they're still 20 years behind us. So they're still trained to be wives before they actually catch
okay.
up.
So you're talking about, so the results of certain systems, and this Dr. T breaks this on, right? Where it's like when you have a certain system, it creates certain results, right?
Certain environments can create certain results. But the thing is, how it plays out culturally is different.
Okay. Okay.
So a single mother here is not going to be the same as a single mother in Colombia or Africa, because they still have more of like a clan-based family. It's going to be different.
Okay, that makes sense, and there'll probably still be a little bit of shame in all of that.
And shame, and they're trained to be wise from little girls and all kinds of stuff.
Very interesting. Okay, so that's when you were saying that these policies are going to be impacting the entire world because this is a result of post-industrialization, and so you're seeing some of these negative effects.
Yeah. In fact, a friend of mine, Sandog, is actually doing business in the Arabian Gulf. He actually mentioned that. He said, we see it coming. So they see it. They know it's coming. They already don't know what to do about it, but they see it coming.
So then,
the leaders agree about it. They already know. But go ahead.
So then, in that sense, if so, those countries are seeing, right? That, do you think America, the West, will kind of help lead the charge as far as how to maybe address some of those, I don't know, issues or some of those?
If they can figure it out, they have to figure it out.
Okay, so if you're trying to figure it out,
yes, that's what Chetty and Reeves and them putting Andrew Tate in jail. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to slow it down and figure it out before it goes too far. Andrew Tate's in jail for a reason. It's not for that kind of stuff.
They're targeting him. Okay, so that's okay.
That's why they want to insert Pearl in his place. She's much more malleable for the same thing.
Sense as they try to make sense of how to deal with the issue of boys.
With the boys, because boys are quitting all over the world. In China.
Oh, in China too. Wow.
Laying flat, or what they call it, let it rot in China.
Wow.
We're giving up. We don't want to be part of this anymore. How do you change that? When people like Andrew Tate said, "Let it burn," it's corrupt.
Wow, I did not know.
You look up "let it rot" in China, or let it laying flat, as they call it in China.
On YouTube, or is that a documentary?
It's been around for a while. There's documentaries, but the thing is, it's in newspapers and on YouTube. Laying flat.
Oh, laying flat.
Laying flat, like minimum wage job, staying in your parents' basement, not working, or barely working, instead of working, like the 996 that they encourage you to work. No.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of the not leftover men, or the herbivores in Japan.
That's that's the Gigimori, the grass eaters. Yeah.
The grass eaters.
That's what they call them. Yeah, but that's part of that wave.
Okay.
They were early on in that wave, but yeah. And the MGTOWs came after that, and now it's getting into laying flat and all this kind of stuff, spreading all over the world. So, and they have to figure out how to stem this tide.
Oh, okay. How to control it so it isn't completely.
How to control it, slow it down. So they can actually figure it out.
Very interesting. Okay, I'll definitely. What was that?
I know I'm giving you a lot, so yeah.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm like I said, right now I'm still.
We call it the Great Resignation in the West, or the incels in the West, not participating. They're lonely. They don't have friends. They're not having sex. They're not dating.
I actually did a lot. It was a while back. I did a live on incels versus femcels, and how I talked about how a lot of, from what I heard, I'm not saying this is like gospel truth, but femcels are a bit of a different breed, because women were just complaining about their quality of choices, whereas men were generally like, no, we don't have like choices. You guys aren't looking for us. And so it was like this tension where that I was seeing between the group, right? Where you would think that there would be maybe a camaraderie, but it's like, actually, no, men were mad that these women were complaining about the fact that they had options that they didn't like. So they were choosing to be femcels, whereas like incels, it seemed like it was more of a, they didn't have a choice. It was forced on
You
them.
have a choice. Yeah, they used to call true forced loneliness back in the day.
Yeah.
But now there's incels, and now you have the men that actually resigning. They're
Yeah.
going monk.
Monk mode, right? I think
Monk mode. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's connected to MGTOW, right?
MGTOW is level 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Monk mode. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole other universe. Seriously, that's why it's like I don't. Again, this is why I'm glad I'm having you on, because I don't. Again, it's like I wouldn't even really know where to look, and even if I did look, if I think, oh, okay, this person has all the answers, as soon as I share that information, it'll be somebody else that says, no, there's this and there's that.
Yeah.
And
There's it lies all over the place.
that.
Stray
Yeah.
cat, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, go chase that cat right there, and you can catch up to him.
Yeah. So, begin a female discussion space. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, well, this has been really helpful.
Okay.
And like I said, I've taken a lot of notes. And I'm glad we were able to have this conversation and hash things out. And thank you for being willing to talk to me and understand where I was coming from.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I hope it was understood, and I'll definitely try to be mindful moving forward to not like misrepresent or do anything, because I never want to come off as if I'm trying to undermine
Mhm.
some of the things that are going on, because I believe these conversations are necessary and that there are changes that need to be had. So I never want to seem like I'm, trying to work against that, So, yeah. I'm trying to make sure. I think I got all of the super chats. You say we are not on code. Yeah, that'll be another conversation. The code.
The code. Yeah, the code. Yeah.
I was
It's
looking
code for thee for me, but not for thee. Okay.
right, and I was looking at Neely Fuller's, because he actually wrote the code.
Code. Yeah.
Right, and I'm like,
compensatory code. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like,
I met him like 3 or 4 times. So.
oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm like, well, as far as I could see, I'm like just a couple of points in. I'm like, ain't nobody in Black America living up to this code.
Like, oh no.
I think I just mentioned him because I think it was Tariq Nasheed that popularized that term, and he'd mentioned Neely Fuller before in some of his other stuff. So I was like, let me read through it, and I'm like, wait, what? Ain't nobody living based on this?
No.
So
he's actually a very funny guy if you actually meet him in person.
Who, Neely Fuller?
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay, well, this has been a great conversation. I do appreciate you having me on, and you coming on and hashing this out. And you've given me a lot of notes and a lot of homework.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I wish you luck.
Yeah, me too. I'm sure I won't master all of it, but I'll be sure to try to check out some of these platforms, and maybe I'll see if I can try to connect with Dr. Tommy Curry too. That'd be great, because I haven't wanted to
go talk to Dr. T and Dr. Green Gorilla.
Okay.
They know him personally.
Yeah, I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it.
All right. I will let you have the rest of your evening.
Okay.
So peace out.
Okay, you take care. Bye. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for logging on. I went a little longer than expected, but that's okay. I hope you guys all hashed out everything. I learned a lot. I took a lot of notes, so I will probably have to go back and review all this stuff. But again, as I mentioned before, Black Manosphere is not a unified, really, I guess. So it is a divergent, dynamic space that has a lot of different opinions, and so I was wrong to mischaracterize it based upon one content creator, based upon one perspective, and I will be sure not to do that anymore. So thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for those who support. Be sure to like, share, subscribe on the way out. Share this with anyone that you think may find it interesting, especially those who took offense with my previous post, because again, that was done based upon just a lot of misunderstanding. So share this with somebody to help clarify things, and stay tuned for other upcoming content, and we'll talk later. Okay, guys? Bye.